Yo, what's up? We are live. Let me get this shared out before we get into the topics. Thank y'all for joining in. Hold on. Where are we? There we go. And remember, if you are on Facebook, it's like a 50-50 chance on whether it's going to show me your comments. So make sure to join in on, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Thrower Bullies YouTube. And that way I'm guaranteed to see your comments, any questions that you have. Let me get this shared real quick. We are live. And we will get into the topics. Why am I hearing myself? Let me go ahead and mute that. There we go. And then there we go. Post that. Give me just a second while you guys are joining in. All right, so that should do it. And where are the topics? What's up, Maurice? Thanks for joining in. We got Dom is in the house. Said he is ready. There we go. Donna said, "Good morning, Daryl. It's 1 a.m. here in the UK. I'm ready." That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. WKRK9 is in the house. We about to get this going. Give me just a second because I forgot what the topics were. And here we go. All right, so today's topics. Should stud owners breed, main topic, should stud owners breed to anyone willing to pay the fee? Are they bettering the breed or are they hindering it? Next topic. Are she-males good for or your yard? We're talking about those, people brag about she-males. We've kind of touched on this before. We're going to get into it again today and a little deeper. Then we had Jason Barr. Also, when you guys hear me talking about the topics, if you go to the Giant XL American Bully Breed group on Facebook, every Tuesday morning, there'll be a post pinned to the top of the group where you get to post, whatever topics it is you want to discuss. Plus, I always hit what you guys present in the comments before we get off. But Jason Bauer, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, said, "How much is too much, line breeding or inbreeding?" Good topic. We kind of touched on that a little bit with the coefficient of inbreeding, but we'll get into that. Let's see. Then Vinton Alexander said, "Should we breed our females at 12 months?" Matthew Gibbs presented a topic, said, "What should you start your yard or kennel with, a foundation pup or a stud or a female?" We'll get into that. And then Stephen Leduc said, "How would you rid your organic yard, grass and wood chips, of Coccidia and Giardia?" So we will get into that also. Let me see who else is in here. Make sure you guys share this out. If you're watching, I'm sure you're clicking like, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can always check us. We're a little slow on Instagram. That's part of our New Year's resolution for Thrower Bullies is to get more active with Instagram. So we're gonna work on that. And then we always got the Thrower Bullies YouTube. But let's see here. Who else is in the house? Jeremiah said, "Good evening. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in." Exactly. From the Bay to LA. There we go. Let's see here. Somebody from Facebook said, "Yo, so it is showing the Facebook comments, but it's not showing the user." Let's see. Rashad said, "What's up to everybody?" Hotep Kennels is in the house. Alan said, "What's good?" Doing good, man. Hope you're doing the same. Had our little New Year's and the holiday session, so hopefully you're doing the same. HWalk51 said, "What's good? What's up, man? Thanks for joining in." Somebody from Facebook said, "I think when it comes to the stud owners, it's a double-edged sword." I agree, 100%. We're gonna get into that. Solo Bully said, Virginia in the building. How anyone in 95 South? Okay. Oh, I know. I got a couple of homies that's in Virginia right now, and they were sending me some pics through text that were crazy. I mean, crazy. That's just a different world than what we used to in Cali. My bad, y'all. Got me a little drinky drink tonight. Let's see. Somebody from Facebook says sword, or like my dad would say, sword. Spirits in the house. What's up, Betsy? Let's see. NV Kennels. Good evening back to you. King of Bully Excellence said, what's Gucci? Chilling, man. We doing good. We doing good. Hopefully you doing the same. Big Bully Kennel said, peace from the Midwest. We got the Midwest in the house. Jerome's up there and he said, what's up, D? Will you breed on the very next heat after a litter? I think that is the best. We did not do that with any of our females, although that was our intent. Just got caught up with doing things. And plus, we had, hold on. Plus, we also had a couple breedings that didn't take. So we got some advice on that. But I do believe that it is best to breed on the very next heat, breed back to back. And there's some, you know, there's some pros and cons to it, but I think there's more pros to it. Scar tissue, and I think it just keeps the female in that move of understanding what's going on, rather than you waiting a year and it's, you know, it's a surprise again to her. We got Savannah, Georgia in the house with Jerome. When what's that? Chatham County Bully Network. There we go. Killer Cali in the building. Exactly. California. Heart and Soul Bullies. Yes. Dog Talk Tuesdays. We back at it. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Look like Henny. It's actually my daughter got it for me for Christmas. It was one of my Christmas gifts from her. It is what is it? The Irish one, but it's the Black Barrel, Jameson. So that's what it is. Mixed it with a little bit of Coke, so I wouldn't be frowning up while I'm on live with y'all. Ralph is in the house. Said good evening to everybody. Thanks for joining in, Ralph. And we got Brian with D-Line Canada. Exactly, D-Line. And J.E. Ghost said, what's good to everybody? What's good, man? Thanks for joining in. So let's go ahead and first topic. Duck said, how would you rid your organic yard, grass, and wood chips of coccidia and giardia? I think the first thing that people have to remember when it comes to these things, first thing, if you know you've got giardia, coccidia on your yard, your dog should be on medication, of course. When you've got space and room, then you want to separate those dogs from that area for about 30 days. The average one of us does not have that space and that type of room. So we've got to therefore cure the yard, treat the yard. So one of the first things that you want to do, of course, is go through the yard and get up all feces. That's the first thing. You don't want to be like my youngest son, where he goes, cleans the yard, and you come out and you can still find 2 pieces of poop for some reason that he missed. So you want to be thorough. Get in the yard, clean up all feces. Next thing you want to do, and this is a thing that a lot of people miss, clean up the junk in your yard. Piles of wood, buckets, whatever you may have that rodents, reptiles, insects can get in. You want to clean all that up. Make sure all that is gone out of the yard, because rodents, reptiles, insects can also help spread it, especially your larger insects. So you want to make sure all that is done. If you have gophers, they have been in the yard, then they go into the soil. You want to make sure that you gopher bomb those areas. The reason I like the gopher bombs rather than the traps is because I don't have to worry about my dogs getting into it. I used to have a Jack Russell that would eat anything she killed. So if she didn't kill it, she wouldn't eat it. But if she killed it, or one of the other dogs killed it, then she would eat it. So you don't want to use poisons. So clean up the area. Go put your gopher bomb. All you do, you dig up the hole as close to as much as you can to where you don't lose track of the hole. Get as far as you can. When you see there's still an opening, you light it, let it get going. Once that flame starts squirting out, you push that in the hole and cover the hole back up with rocks and dirt. You want enough so that the oxygen that's in there is still enough for it to keep burning. It blows out that flame, or it will blow out smoke. Either way, it's going to blow out smoke, and it's carbon dioxide, if I'm not mistaken, or carbon monoxide, if I'm not mistaken, and it kills the gophers down in their holes. Very good tool to use on gophers, but you want to kill them too, cover that hole back up. Once that is done, you want to, for Giardia, you want to get a solution of 1 part bleach and I'd say about 25 to 30 parts water. Spray down the whole yard with it, and all you need is about 5. Get the yard thorough. Once you've done the yard thoroughly, you want to let it sit for about 3 to 5 minutes. They say it takes about 1 minute for it to kill Giardia, but for that solution. But I would say let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes. Once that is done, then you want to spray down your yard. We'll get into the organic aspect of it as soon as I'm done. After that, down your yard with a hose, real good. Make sure it's soaked, and you should be good. As far as coccidia, same process. Now, here's another thing before we get into coccidia. A lot of times people make the mistake of they clean the poop up with a shovel or a pooper scooper. They sit that back. They treat the yard. What they forget to treat is the tools that they use to clean the poop. You want to make sure that you clean those tools, your pooper scooper, your shovel, whatever it is you use. Now, when it comes to coccidia, same process. Make sure again you treat you clean up everything. Exact same process. Then you want to treat your yard, your kennel. You want to use for your solution. You want for coccidia, I would say 1 part ammonia, water. So 1 part ammonia, 8 parts water. Spray down the whole yard. Spray down your tools you use to clean the yard, and you want to let that sit for about 30 minutes. Once it's sat for about 30 minutes, then you want to, again, wash down your whole yard. Especially in your areas of, or what growing things, to dilute it. It's already killed the virus, the germs. So now what you want, it's already done the disinfecting part. So now what you want to do is dilute all that as much as possible so that your grass continues to grow. If you have organic plants or just fruits, whatever it is you might be growing in your yard, your fruits, vegetables, things like that, you want to doubly soak them down again. Make sure that it is extremely diluted. Water them down from the top to the bottom. Make sure the soil around them is extremely soaked with water so that it dilutes the chemicals that you use for the disinfectant. Next thing you want to do that during the day. The next thing you want to do, when nightfall hits, early PM, you start getting the sun down, water the yard down again. You don't need to do the whole yard, but especially where your vegetation, your fruits, things that you're growing, where those are, water it down again. That way, overnight, there's more time for it to soak in. If you're one of those neighbors that's super proud of your grass and everything, then again, you want to soak it down at night. So I would say do it early during the day first, rinse it down, soak it, then again, come back at night, rinse it down, soak it all over again. That way it has less effect on your grass, your vegetables, your fruits, and anything that you're growing. And you should be straight, and that should take care of that topic. Let's see, King Creole said was good. We got Wolf. What is that? Oh, Work If Wonder Kindles. I like that. From Kaylin V. What's up? Thanks for joining in, Kaylin. Dom said, ever got a hold of Terrell? No, I haven't. Somebody suggested that. I want to say, I could be mistaken. I want to say I did at least have him live. And if I'm not mistaken, I did hit him up. I don't remember if he hit me back or whatever. Somehow it fell through. I want to say, though, that I did hit him up. But I don't think we either didn't confirm a time or somehow it got lost or he didn't respond. You would be surprised of the people that I've hit up for interviews and they'll say, yeah. And then all of a sudden they come back and they just disappear. So I know, I know the bully community kind of gets mad at some push, but the truth is what it is. We got Jeremiah said, is it rare to have a breeder ask for money? Okay, hold on. Is it rare to have a breeder ask for money for your male to go into his bitch? I mean, I've heard of stuffies, but not the other way around. He wants to breed into, okay, you want to breed, okay, so he's got the female, he wants you to breed to his female and he wants to charge you. That's crazy. He should be offering you money to breed to your male. Is it rare to have a breeder ask for money for your male to go into his female? Yeah, that's rare. That's not, he should be asking you, how much are you charging for your male stud fee? That's what he should be asking you for. Because otherwise, thing is you're going to be paying him to breed to his female, and then he's going to be taking that female, selling the pups, and making money off the pups also. That's crazy. So I don't know if there's more detail to that, but yeah, that's definitely crazy, Jeremiah. Let's see. Rhodes, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Said Happy New Year. Buck said Happy New Year. Happy New Year to both of you. Big Bully Kennels is in the house. Said good game. WKR. Daryl is going to answer everybody's questions. Right? Yeah. Before we end it, we will go through all the questions and all the comments. Let's see. What's up? Somebody from Facebook said, what's going on with you? I'm doing good. It's not showing your name though. Heart and Soul said, don't do bleach and ammonia at the same time. Whatever you do, that makes mustard gas. Yes, they're two separate things. And I'm glad you said that. So if I'm treating the yard, let's say I find out I've got both coccidia and giardia. If I'm got giardia, I'm going to use the bleach, and then I'm going to rinse it down like I explained earlier. At that point, you want to rinse it. I got to close off some of this stuff so it don't interfere. At that point, you want to rinse everything down after that 5 minutes of the bleach and water. 1 part bleach, 30 parts water. You want to, after 3 to 5 minutes, you want to rinse everything down real good, okay? After you've rinsed everything down, wait for a couple hours. You've already used bleach, so wait for an hour or two. Then you want to treat the coccidia. I would go over it again. Some people say bleach kills coccidia. Some people say it doesn't. Some people say if you do the bleach solution, then you don't need the other solution. I would say rinse it down, give it a chance for the water to soak into everything, give it about an hour for the water to soak into everything, and then go ahead and hit it up for coccidia with the 1 part ammonia, 8 parts water. Let that sit because you want that to sit for about 30 minutes. So yeah, don't do them both at the same time. You want to do them separately. Handle the giardia first, rinse it down, then handle the coccidia. So great point, just in case I didn't say that. Heart and Soul. That's why it's good you guys join in and always understand when we do these lives. Yes, I do have a lot of information. I can answer a lot of questions. Sometimes you guys have questions I don't have the answer to, but somebody does have the answer to. Or I say something, because it's live, I leave out something or forget something. So, and there are a lot of people that tune into this and have a lot of information, and everybody in this group is in this these lives is pretty much proactive. Sometimes you'll see people having a whole different conversation in the comments that don't even have nothing to do with what we're talking about. But that's a good thing, so whatever information can be on these lives is great. And then I'll always try to touch on, I may agree with something somebody comments, I may disagree, or maybe something I haven't thought about. So, and I'll just look into later, or I never thought about it since. So always make sure to peep the comments, as we go through the topics. Slayer Pitt said, off topic question, with your experience in the APBT, American Pit Bull Terrier, what would be something to look for when picking up a new pup? Looking to get a pup with a lot of drive for personal protection. Let's see. First thing I would say, you're going to be getting the average pup anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks old. So the first thing I would do, and I don't have one near me, if you go to your cat section of your local pet stores, typically they've got the little mini Flirt Pulls. They're about this long. They're about 1 to 2 inches long. They're about 1 to 2 inches long. They're about this 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 long. a string about that long, and they all have a feather attached to it. You can grab one of those. I don't have my red beam light, but you can grab one of those, and I always take two things. First thing I would take is a red beam light. I don't know where mine is. It was around me the other day because I just was using it with Cardi. Oh, here it is. So this came from the cat section, local toy store. And so as you can see, I don't want to point it at the screen and one of y'all sue me for going blind. But this is it. It just looks like a little mouse or whatever. And you hit this button, the red beam goes on. And so as you can see on my hand, the red beam is there. And so anyway, what you want to do is, oh, that looked kind of cool on the screen. But anyway, I use that second. So the first thing I do is take your, whatever it is you got from the cat section with a little ball or a feather hanging from it. And out of the litter, if you know you want a male, then just ignore the females, just get the males because you want as little distractions when you're picking a pup as possible. If you know you want a female, then ignore the males and just get the females together. Out of those pups, what you want to do is see which ones will chase the flirt pole, whatever the lure you're using is, as much as possible because you're looking for prey drive. You got to also understand pack mentality. It comes natural with pups also. So you want to see the ones that tend to stand out, and you want to pay attention to intensity and which is how hard they're going for it. You also want to pay attention to which ones go after it the most. You also want to pay attention to which one, or the longest, I should say. You also want to pay attention to which ones are kind of leading the pack going after it. Pay attention to which ones don't, because at that age, one of the lose track of it. They're going this way, you go this way, and then they're just kind of like, okay, hold on, which way did it go? Some pups will keep in tune with that, or they'll lose track of it, but they turn that way because they know that's the last thing they were. Those are pups whose cognitive ability is moving. So, and again, just to repeat that, the pup is headed this way after it, and then all of a sudden you make the lure go this way. When the pup loses sight of it, sometimes not that it forgets what it's doing, but it questions itself, where did it go? Because I don't see it. Other pups in the litter will say, I don't see it, but I know it headed that way, so therefore I'm looking and I'm headed that way too. That's cognitive ability. They're able to put one and two together and make a decision and act on it. So you want to be paying attention to those little things. Once you've isolated the pups that are most impressive, I don't know why I blacked out. Also, remember, at an hour and 20 minutes, it's going to kick me out and I'll jump right back in. But once you have done that, you want to take the ones that stood out the most, and then you want to use your red beam, your laser light. The reason I like the laser light is it's more difficult to pay attention to because it's laying flat on the ground. Never point it at the eyes of the dog. Always keep it ahead. You want to pay it to start from a distance. See which pups kind of notice it. As you make your way closer and closer to the pups, see which ones kind of notice it and go after it. Now, some of that is prey drive. Some of that is inquisitive drive. I've explained inquisitive drive before. Inquisitive drive, after about 6 to 12 months, starts to turn into the cognitive ability, the intelligence of the dog. So, but as a pup, it's just curiosity. So you want to pay attention to that also. Which ones are, who gets alerted to that is, as you, that red beam, that laser light, as you get closer and closer to the pups. Once you get close enough to the pups where they're engaging, going after it, then again, you want to do the same thing you did with the feather. The beam stand, it's harder to full feather that's hanging in front of them or whatever you're using as a lure because it's just a beam that's flat on the ground. You want to pay attention to those things. Once you've done that and you've isolated it to, your favorite 2, 3, you're not sure which one you want to pick, then you want to do the same thing. So it's a 3-step process. You want to do the same thing with the pup by itself. Some pups will chase things just because everybody's chasing it. When it comes to prey drive, you want that dog that is going to be going after it for because they want to go after it, not because everybody else is. So as soon as you figure out your best 2 or 3, then you want to do it individually. 3-step process. 1, the feather or whatever lure you're using that's hanging from the little cat toy, little cat flirt pole. 2, the beam, and then 3rd process individually. And that's how you want to make that in level so that you're eliminating dogs after off of each level. And then if you got a cool breeder that you can get involved at about 6 weeks, they don't sell their pups to 8 weeks, come back at 7 weeks. Bam, come back at 8 weeks. Do it again, because pups do, as they mature, so do their drives and their thresholds for those drives. So that would be the best way of going about it. When it comes to personal protection, you are looking not so much for a prey drive, but you're looking for a dog. I would say you want the dog is more reserved, seems to be more isolated from the human attention. Those tend to make the best protection dogs. Now, if we're looking at performance for bite work, things like that, your prey-driven dogs are always going to stand out. But if we're looking for a dog that actually protects, bite work is, even in the highest form of competition, is really just an advanced form of tug of war. That's where you want your prey drive. If we're looking for something that is truly going to protect my home without needing to be agitated, has a little bit of civil drive to it, then that's when you're going to be looking for that pup that doesn't necessarily want to be playing with the pack all the time, but loves human interaction. Those are typically the pups that make the best personal protection dog. So that's what you want to look for. I hope that answered your question. Hotep said, good to know. Dom said, how can I tell if my female is done? Is done what? You talking about like heat cycle? Let me know what you mean by that. Jerome said pup back deal. Okay, on that previous question, that's what I would kind of be thinking. Maybe, get a pup back deal for him. But either way, you shouldn't be paying. If you got the stud, you shouldn't be paying the owner of the female anything. They should be paying you or working out a pup back deal arrangement. Let's see. Dom says completely done giving birth. Okay. I've had females give birth, and then 2 to 3 hours later, they have another pup. So what you want to be looking for is, 1, counting the placentas. That's one thing. You want to make sure there's 1 placenta for every pup. The next thing you want to do, I would say, give them about 4 hours. Shouldn't take any longer than that. Some people say 6. I've heard people say 12. I personally feel about 4 hours, especially if you're doing bullies. Actually, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to say 2 to 3 hours. If after 2 to 3 hours, she has not given birth to what or has not pushed out what the vet said you have in there, then to be concerned, take her to the vet. Now, here's the thing. Let's say you never went for an xray, which is 99.9% of the breedings I've ever done. There was never a vet involved. If you're doing bullies and let's say she doesn't push them out, first thing you want to do is make sure you're putting them on her nipple immediately. You can also give Tums. All those things help her with contractions. So immediately put the pups on the nipple, keep the pups on the nipple. That will help her keep in tune, and she will start, pushing if there's something left in there. You've gone about 2, 3, 4 hours and there's nothing, then typically you're straight. If you notice pups aren't going to do that to her, pups feeding off her aren't going to do that to her, that's when you want to get her checked. You'll start noticing she's drooling, things like that for no reason. That's when you want to take her to the vet. Make sure you get her checked and let them know she just had pups and she needs to get an x-ray. Get to the point when you're breeding dogs that you're telling your vet what to do. You don't want to always walk in there and be, at a loss or waiting for the vet to tell you what to do. So when you get in there, let the vet know, hey, she just had a litter. She's looking a little sick, looking a little bit off. It's a possibility she still has pups in her that she didn't push out. From there, your vet will automatically know to do an x-ray, and then you guys can get to the top of that. But as far as the time period, it varies. What I will say is you do have a clue due to the fact that you'll see her looking lethargic or acting, sickly. She'll be drooling because her system is not feeling well. If you notice those things and you want to get her to the vet, if for some reason you didn't notice it, you didn't catch it right away, it's okay. You do have time. A pup inside of her takes a while to actually cause illness. So you've got time. There's no rush. But I would say after about 3 to 4 hours, if you notice her, she should be done. And if you notice her looking sickly, there's a good chance there's a pup in there that didn't come out. But to prevent that, make sure when she starts pushing pups out, that you're giving her. And I would start before, but make sure you're giving her Tums is one of the easiest way to do it. And for whatever reasons, dogs are willing to eat it. So give her Tums. The calcium helps push. Also, put the pups on the nipple immediately, and that will also help her with her contractions. Hotep said he's trying to, on that stud situation, that's definitely a hustle. I've actually never even heard anybody say that. I've got a female. How much will you pay me for your stud to breed to her? That's crazy. Solo said, correction on watering at night to the sunrise. Water sitting on grass overnight can cause mold, brown patch, red thread, and will kill grass. This can be true. I live in California, so we have a lot of sunlight, not an issue with watering at night. If you are somewhere where that is an issue, you're only doing it that one night, so you should be straight. The next day, you don't want to water until you don't want to water at all. If you live somewhere where mold and things like that are an issue with grass on your grass because you watered at night, then that next day, just don't water. Skip it for 24 hours to give the soil and everything time to ingest. Hopefully the sun is coming out that day. But that's what you want. It would be no different than you have a rainy season and it rains 2 to 3 days. You still 9 times out of 10, you normally won't get mold and things like that. But that is something to think about depending on where you live. Donna Whitaker said, do you know when you'll have some free time to put out more videos in the week, like the Flirt Pull? Somebody asked me about that earlier and I forgot. What I will do is I will make sure that I do that this week. I'll go ahead, I'll make a video. I actually just put a Flirt Pull together, so for my sister. So what I'll do is I will take my Flirt Pull apart. We'll put it together from scratch. I'll record it, and then I will post the video to YouTube and also to Facebook and probably Instagram. And what I will also do is show how to properly work the Flirt Pull in the form of a cat meal rather than whipping it all around like we see a lot of people do. But I will definitely do that. I'm glad you reminded me of that because I meant to do that this week and forgot. Mike B said, is 6 months too young to use a choke chain? Here's my thing with choke chains and e-collars. I believe that you should try the natural forms of correction first. If at 6 months you're unable to control a pup, either e-collar or a choke chain, then I would say you really need to be careful because that pup may be a little too much for you when it gets older and you have other situations outside of that. Choke chains and e-collars should be your last resort. I just kind of got into it with a trainer. I'm not going to say his name because he's well known, but we got into it because he was promoting using choke chains on pups that were younger than 6 months. And you should be getting regular training process. So here's the thing to remember. First, start off with your regular leash and collar. And the reason you want to start off with that is the mother of pups tends to correct pups. So if the pup is doing something that she doesn't like, she gives a quick snap. Let's say she snaps them at the neck. Well, when they're doing something you don't like, let's say they're headed to the right and you don't want them doing that. You're on the left, you give a quick yank on the collar, tell them no, and then the pup veers back. Where did the pup feel it? He was headed to his right, he felt the pressure on the right. No different than if the blocking him from going that direction. So I would say start off with your collars. Also, when it comes to the choke chain, if you feel you might need a choke chain, start off teaching your dogs other things. Sit, stay, waiting on its food bowl till you allow it to eat and then come. Start working on distance so the dog understands. Start setting up boundaries within the home. Some people love having their dogs on the couch. I personally am not a fan of that, but at the same time, Floyd is on the couch right now with my son. So, you know, we vary in the house, but we start off all on the same page. Floyd's 15 years old. We start off all on the same page. Start setting up boundaries, and the couch is the bed, those are perfect things to set up boundaries. If you like your dog on the couch, cool. Teach it to not be on the couch first. When you've got the dog listening, then gradually go ahead and invite it to the couch. So start off with just those basic training things. Sit, basic obedience, sit, stay, down commands. Give basic behavioral things off the couch. Don't come in this area of the kitchen. Start off with those type of things. Waiting till I tell you to come eat before you eat. And you'll notice it works wonders when you get out on leash and now all of a sudden you're giving corrections, because now the dog is learning that it needs to respect you. And I would start with that first. I would try to avoid using the choke chain at 6 months. But if you have to, for whatever reasons, you try the other things, you've done all the other disciplinary things within the home, you're outside the home for whatever reasons, this dog that's not working, then go ahead, use a choke chain. And at 6 months, no, it is not a too early age. But you have to make sure that you're using it correctly. You have to make sure that it's on correctly, that the prongs are facing the correct direction, and then make sure that you're using it correctly. I'm sure you can go on YouTube and find correct ways of using the choke chain. If you can't for whatever reasons, you can hit me up. I do consultations on training and obedience and behavior. But I'm willing to bet, I do charge $50 a phone call, but I'm willing to bet you can find it for free. YouTube, I guarantee it's got to be somewhere on there. But try your basic training and behavior and obedience first, and then once you've got that down, then take the dog for a walk. A lot of times you also have to understand the walk starts with your exit. You know, when you exit the house, when you exit the yard, don't exit in the yard, the dog is pulling. You know what I mean? Stop. When he starts pulling to get you open the gate or whatever it is or the door to take that walk, that dog should not be pulling right off the bat. Otherwise, we stop, come back in, I close the door. And then we wait about 5 minutes, and then we'll start all over. So start the walk off correct first, and start in the home behavior and obedience. Start your walk off. Once you got that down, start your walk off correct, but try it with the leash and collar corrections first, and then you can go ahead and start using the choke chain. But before you use the choke chain, get as much information as you possibly can on how to use it correctly. Do not go to one source. Look for 3 to 5 sources, see how they talk about it, and then go ahead and implement it. If for some strange reason there is nothing on YouTube or whatever regarding utilizing the choke chain, like I said, I do consultations. You can always call me, but you should be able to find it on YouTube for free. What's your take on strangles in pups? On strangles? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Let me know what you mean by that, Solo. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Spirit choke chain for what? I feel what she's saying. You shouldn't need it at that age. I put on 100. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Mike B said, do you think the average XL can swim? When you come to the pocket, I have no idea. I guarantee you there's some that can't. I would say when it comes to standards and XLs, they should definitely be able to swim, especially the XL. I put on, said, would you let male puppies hang with OG Floyd? Floyd is old now. He met for the first time Cardi Bull's son, Aziz, who's coming up on about 1.5 years old. For the first time he met him. And he actually sniffed him. Floyd never used to sniff dogs. It was just instant attack. But he did hit the fence and he did actually sniff him. So I think there's a new, kinder, gentler Floyd now that he's hit 15 years old. Now, 15 seconds after that, he wanted to get through the fence and fight him. But he did sniff him at first, which was, we were all shocked. Everybody that was out there was shocked because we thought he was going. He came charging at the fence, then he kind of walked up, and then he kind of looked at him and he sniffed. And Floyd has never ever used his nose with any dog in his 15 years of living. But yeah, he did sniff. He did sniff at him. So Floyd can be cool with pups. It took him to about 6 years old. And the first time about 6 years old. And then he was a little more lenient with pups. The female I had at the time was Sasha. She was about 4 months old. And we first kept her in a cage. And he was not allowed to go near the cage. Once we got to the point where he wasn't trying to get at the cage immediately, he knew when he was being let out, just to go straight out, ignore what's in the cage. Then we kind of started allowing him around the cage. There were times he'd walk up to the cage and kind of growl. We make him get back. Once he growled, though, I knew we were in good hands due to the fact Floyd doesn't growl. He doesn't, even in times he's gotten into fights, whether it's been a dog, a raccoon, a coyote, Floyd doesn't growl, he whines. So when he growled, it let me know, okay, he's back in dog mode now. Still being an asshole, but he's at least back in dog mode. So we knew we were able to work with him. Then eventually we just started taking long walks with him and her. She was about 4 months old. We started taking long walks with him and her. And then eventually, as we were able to get them closer together, him in front smelling her in back smell, walking up to the back of him. And once we got him to the point where he would use his nose during those walks, which took a couple walks, then that's when we brought him in the yard, let him go, and he was cool. Still very dominant, still confused because as far as he knew at the time, he was supposed to attack anything moving. After a while, they were cool, and next thing you know, they were playing. We went through the same process with Cardi Bull. When King is here, Floyd is never allowed to set eyes on him because he runs through the yard pissed because he can smell King has been here. King is kept in our kitchen. Floyd is kept in the other half of the house, and they go out different directions. He is never allowed to see him. My goal is to have, right now, this is Floyd's home. We'll be moving in Arkansas. My goal is to never have any males here while Floyd is here and breathing and living, because I always want him to have that confidence as king of the castle. So that's my objective, is to never take on another male until he's gone. But yeah, Floyd is, I would say, once he hit about 6 years old, he reached a point where you could start having puppies around him. There would have never, even now at 15, there would never be a situation where you could have Floyd loose with a male. The minute that male pup hits 6 to 8 months old, it's going to be a wrap. So that's not something I would do him. Mike B, so what do you recommend for a long lasting chew? I use bully sticks and dehydrated trachea, but the dogs chew through them pretty quick. I use a lot of the Kong stuff. Again, though, another thing to help preserve your stuff, I would take them up. When the dog is done, take them up. When you're ready for the dog to be done, take them up. That way they don't have the time to just sit there like an inmate and figure out little ways to dig a tooth in there and start messing it up. So with all of our dogs, all their toys are taken up when they're done with them, or when we're done watching them with that toy. Then we put the toy up, put it somewhere where they can definitely see it. We've had some dogs where we would have a basket. They could go in and get their toys out of that basket when they want it. Constantly going to the basket, then we put the basket up higher. And when they want their toy, they'll go there to let you know, hey, I want my toy right now. But to preserve your toys, take them up. At the same time, they're dogs, so just be ready to replace them. You know what I mean? Always be ready to replace them. One of the best objectives in keeping the toys up out of their reach is that it keeps their enthusiasm for the toy more intense, and a workout rather than it turning into an intelligence game of them figuring out how to tear it apart. Mr. J's in the house. What's up, brother? Solo, indestructible toys for bullies. I'm thinking that's a brand. I have not seen that. I use a lot of the Kong stuff, but again, I also put stuff up. My dogs will tear up the Kong stuff, but I put it up so that I assume. Let's see. Rose said, I have a question. Let's say my dogs are scatterbred, meaning none of the dogs in the pedigree are related. Can I do a direct litter mate, brother, sister breeding? So you want to do an inbreeding, but the dogs are totally scatterbred. For some reason, okay, the screen was frozen. If the dogs are scatterbred, that increases your chances of success with doing an inbreeding. I would avoid the brother-sister inbreeding due to the fact of it being so similar in genetics. On the other hand, you can look at the two dogs. If they're showing different traits, even though they're brother and sister, this increases your chances of not having an issue. Scatterbred increases your chances of not having an issue. Brother and sister increases your chance of not having an issue because you can't breed male to male or male to male or female to female. And then if the dogs have a different look, same litter, but a slightly different look, then again, this increases your chances of not having issues. What you want to do is make sure that those dogs are absolutely perfection. Brother to sister breeding is something you typically want to avoid. You're better off going sister to father. I mean, daughter to father, or which is the best, especially or if you're doing an inbreeding, daughter to father, meaning brother, sister, mother, father. What would naturally be in a home. You're better off doing daughter to father. If the female and the male pup tends to be the mom and the male pup tends to be the best, then you can go that route. But that tends to where you start to have issues. What I would say, if you're looking at that breeding and you think that it's a perfect breeding, one, make sure that both those dogs are close to perfect as possible in temperament, conformation, which is the look, and ability. And if they match, all three of those things are perfect, go ahead, do the inbreeding. But make sure that you know what dog you plan to head to on an outcross, and it needs to be totally unrelated to them. So that would be my advice in them. I won't say not to do it. You got to use your eyes and your judgment. So I won't say not to do it, but I would say be careful, be very picky about the dogs that you're using. So let's say if your dog chews through it within 90 days, money back. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Spirit said reserved and watches the pack. There you go. That's when we were talking about protection. Models, exactly. WKR said, I feel stud owners should only breed to selective bitches. You wouldn't want your stud to be the sire of train wrecks. I agree. We're going to get into that topic. Mike B said, I have 6-month male. My female and my stud mom. Okay, my female and my stud's mom have the same dad. Okay, I have a 6-month male. My female and my stud's, I'm assuming there's a 6-month male, mom have the same dad. So they're half related. Is that too close to breed for quite a while? Some people call that an inbreeding. They share one parent. Some people say that's not an inbreeding, that's a close line breeding. Whatever it is, it's close. So again, make sure the dogs are perfect in temperament, ability, and conformation. If the dogs achieve everything that you have expectations of in those 3 categories, then yeah, you can breed half brother to half sister. That's not a problem. Let's get on to, and I'll hit back on the comments. Matthew Gibbs posted, what should you start your yard/kennel with? A foundation pup, stud, or a female? And remember, as we're going through the topics, when you post something, I'm behind you guys, sometimes 20 to 30 minutes. So remember, kind of let me know what topic you're talking about when you give whatever your response is. But Matthew Gibbs said, where are we? What should you start your yard / kennel with? A foundation pup, stud, or a female? Um, as far as when you say foundation pup, I'm not I'm not sure if you're meaning something you produced or just the overall foundation. Should it be a male or female? I would say always start with a female. Get the best female you can. She is going to go 50-50 with genetic information when on your offspring with whatever male you breed her to. And she is going to dominate genetic information when it comes to your male pups. So I would say start off finding the best female that you possibly can. Now, we did the opposite. We ended up getting a male first because my cousin was able to see what he liked in that breeding. And I looked at it, I agreed, and then we got the male first. But what I would say is I would start off with a female because she's going to, when it comes to temperament ability and look, the form, she's going to dominate the litter. She's going to battle it out 50-50 with the male, with the stud you use on the female offspring, and she's going to tend to dominate the majority of the male offspring. So I would say start off with a female. I would even try getting 2 females. That way you have an idea of what's going to be dominating your yard. And then at that point, go ahead, get a male. Or you don't want to go that route. You want to jump right into it. Get your female first and then find a stud that's worth breeding to her. But I would start off with the female. Let's see. Let's jump in another one topic before we get into the. Vinton Alexander says, should we breed our females at 12 months? I would say no. Due to the fact she's not fully developed neck for 12. So I would say no. Maturity isn't there. And so I would say no. And usually at 12 months, she's only had 1 heat cycle. So I would say no. You want to wait till she's, this is twofold. If you got a dog where you're doing natural breedings and you're looking for that dog to take care of it, I would wait till she's right around 2 years old. So it may be second or third heat. In the case of bullies, we're sections and we are doing AI or C-sections. We're whelping the litters, things like that. Then you can go earlier because we're ready to take care of the dogs ourselves. But I would definitely wait till her growth plates are in place. That way she's not having that extra weight on her as she's developing. And you're usually looking at about 18 months before that happens. Let's go ahead and jump into another topic because that was a quick one. Jason said, how much is too much line breeding / inbreeding? Okay, so we're going to get into that. So before we get into that, I'm going to hit the comments again. Slayer said, thank you so much. That was way too much more info than I was expecting. Laugh out loud. I feel like I owe you for a consult. No problem. This is the thing. I do charge for the consultations. They're $50 a phone call. I will be on the phone with you for as long as we need to be. But these lives, that's what this is for. You get to jump on here, ask questions, and not only will you get answers from me, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get answers from other experienced people that are in on the live. So again, hey, that's what the lives are for. So tune into the lives or hit me up on the side and we can, talk deeper. James Wilson said, when do parties exchange paperwork? The stud's owner if I'm using an outside stud for my bitch. Okay, so if you've got the female, you've got her paperwork. You've done the breeding. Then you want to use the stud owner. At that point, you are then going to submit your paperwork based off of that stud that you're using. You're going to have to put his name and everything. He should be with the same registry. You should have his registration number and all that. You send that paperwork in. The registry is supposed to hit that stud owner, hit them up to verify that their stud was used, they'll verify it, and then they'll send you your paperwork. So let me read that again. When do parties exchange paperwork? So you want to get that done as soon as your litter is born. I would say to get through the stages where sometimes pups start to fade, I would say right about 4 to 8 weeks, you want to get going on all that, especially with COVID and everything else going on with these registries. They start to slow the process down. So I would say at that point, you want to get going on that, especially if you are in the market of selling to other breeders, because they're going to want their paperwork as soon as possible. So hopefully that answers your question. But you have the female, so you're in control of that. All the registry is doing is following up with the stud owner to make sure you're telling the truth about breeding with their stud. Once the stud owner confirms it, then bam, you go from there. Brian Champs, hope I'm saying that right. Oral cow plus for birthing and always get an x-ray so you know the head count. Exactly. Get the x-ray done first. That way you know, especially with these dogs that have large shoulders, large heads. The x-ray first. That way you have a count. And then bam, you, like I said earlier, you want that what's coming out of there to be, huh? Oh, are you headed to the gym? Okay, cool. You're going to, and you say you're going to both sessions, right? All right, cool. Let's see. So you want to make sure that you that was my son. He does MMA, so he's headed to go train tonight. But yeah, you want to make sure what comes out is equivalent to what the vet gave you. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to say 8 to 10 puppies. Well, you want to make sure if you got only 8 came out, then you know, okay, I need to be on watch for 2 more. That doesn't mean you necessarily had 2 more. And that was a problem at my vet is bully breeders, not Frenchie breeders, not poodle breeders, not German Shepherd breeders. The vet would tell them you're going to have 8 to 10 pups. Bully breeder would have 8 pups, and then they go back to the vet saying they stole 2 of their pups. So you know, then they do a C-section and they bam, here's your 8 pups. Well, you said 8 to 10. Well, you said 10. That's like, no, I said 8 to 10. Right. You said the number 10, so you stole 2 of my pups. Now the vet no longer will tell you how many pups you're going to have. They'll tell me, but they won't tell a lot of the other bully breeders and a lot of the other clients. So again, dogs at home is pushing out pups. Vet told you 8 to 10 pups. You got 8. Be on the lookout for 2 more and just be waiting to sit. And then again, always remember and be ready. You can always go get another x-ray done to make sure everything is out. Hotep said, ever heard of a whelping pause? I'm thinking you're talking about whelping pause. That I've never heard of. I've never heard of that. So explain that to me. Let's see. Brian, also vanilla ice cream will work? Yes. If you can't get Oral Cow Plus, but Oral Cow Plus is a must-have for breeders and whelping. I agree. You can use vanilla ice cream to help them push it out and get those extra pups out of there. Oral Cow Plus, which I should have mentioned earlier, is very good to use when your female is going through. It also helps her get her milk and everything going. Let's see. Ramon said 4-year-old bitch just finished whelping her 2nd litter. Pups are gone. Bitch's temperament has changed, is suddenly trying to fight my older male at 8 years and 10-month female. Any idea what's happening? You're going through a hormone change. She's also very protective because she just had the litter. Just finished whelping her 2nd. Okay, so you didn't say how old that litter is. But if it just took place, I'm assuming by your question is that those pups are still in the house. So yeah, even though she's no longer whelping them, she is going to be protective. I would say just keep her away from your male, keep her away from your female. If she's fully done whelping, she's no longer dealing with the pups. And here's the thing. Best thing that you can do is take them for walks. Now, if she's still interacting with those pups, wouldn't take her for a walk with the other 2 dogs because you don't want her bringing other germs around those pups. If she's no longer interacting with those pups, you plus another individual or 3 individuals, put each dog on a leash, and each of you start walking those dogs together to rebuild that pack drive and that pack bond with those dogs. Take them for long walks so they get tired out. Bring them back home, and then when they're tired out, gasping and ready to panting and ready to drink some water, walk back into your yard, drop the leashes. That's the best way to handle that. If she's still interacting with the pups, do not take her out in public for walks or anything. Just give her that time for those pups to be gone. Once those pups are gone, she will probably change her attitude. And then at that point, you start taking them for long walks together to rebuild that bond. Hotep said it can last 5 minutes as long as 48 hours. And I think what he's talking about was how long it can take for pups to come out. I'm thinking that's what he's talking about. Wait a minute, hold on. Didn't you? So yeah, I'm not sure what, if you're talking about the whelping pause thing, Hotep. I've never heard that. I'm sure I've probably seen the situation, but I've never heard the title for it. So let me know exactly what you're talking about, because I might be able to learn something tonight also. Jerome Irwin said, I've heard of people crushing Tums and feeding during the last 3 weeks to help bone development in pups. Have you heard of this? I don't. Assuming you're talking about the Tums to the female. I give Tums to the female the day of delivery. I start giving them to her. As far as using it for bone development and things like that, I wouldn't worry about that. She should already be doing that with her natural milk. So I wouldn't worry about doing that. So I've never heard of that, but I also wouldn't worry about doing that. Are you QBN? No, I am Thor Bullies, which it should say out there. I am Thor live every from QBN and Danny Cervantes and Bobby York, who is also QBN. We do a live every Monday. Yesterday was crazy. He did a stack off. It was so many people that I don't know if Danny eventually got in, but I was usually we judge the dogs during a live day of every month. And right when I got ready to log in, Floyd's been having issues. I heard him coughing. I hesitated, went to handle him, make sure he was straight, took him in the shower, got his hot shower, got his breathing, not in the shower. So those who are listening to me, I didn't take him in the hot shower, just ran the shower and had him sitting in the bathroom with me so he could get that steam in. His breathing got clear. I think I came back to the live probably about 5 to 10 minutes late. It was so many people that I couldn't even get in on the live. So yesterday, the Monday first of the month, Monday was cracking. First Monday of the month stack off was cracking yesterday. So I got to get it Raul about that, because I tried getting in on it because I was supposed to be a judge. Man, like 10, 20 times, and they just kept telling me too many people. So that yesterday must have been insane. Mike B said, thanks, I'll check it out. To Solo, he said he'll check it out. Spirit said, yes, please show proper use. Someone's going to take out a knee. Not sure what that was. Chris said, hey, I'm getting into weight pulling with my boy Soldier. I have been working with him pulling lightweight. What registry? What are requirements and how to find local competitions? I want to say KC does have options. You are definitely gonna have to Google it. From my understanding, ABKC used to and no longer does. Um, I'm in the works with somebody right now regarding a registry. That's the most I'll say right now. And performance is going to be a major factor in that. But that's the most I could say right now regarding that. So at that point, I'll be more in tune with it. What I will say, if you've got a pup, be careful, make sure it's lightweight. As far as what registries, I'm kind of out of the loop on that. I would definitely, and just start with a general Google, weight pull registries or weight pulling competitions. And then from there, start hitting those people up and find out what's going on in your state or your area. Because a lot of times when we Google something and we, especially with dogs and the activity, and we pinpoint it to our area, excuse me, you either get lucky because something's going on or nothing comes up. So start in general and start hitting those places up to find out what they know going on in your area. 9 times out of 10, they'll be able to tell you. Someone from Facebook said, I've only used choke chains to help teach the puppy to walk beside me, but only after they are already comfortable walking on leash. Is that wrong? If they're already walking correctly, then you shouldn't need the choke chain. Choke chain is a disciplinary factor. So if the dog is already doing what it's supposed to do, then you don't need the choke chain. If for some reason regular obedience and behavior training is not working, then that's when you use the choke chain. If the choke chain is not working, that's when you step up to the e-collar. But remember, those are tools that are there for when the normal things aren't working. Though there are trainers who push choke chain and e-collar, that's the first thing they jump out the gate with. Those are people who are trying to get as many clients in and out as possible to make money. My argument with those type of trainers has always been, why use something if your dog can learn without it? And you want to know if your dog can learn without it. If I'm breeding dogs for obedience and behavior, and I'm automatically jumping to the choke chain or the e-collar, guess what? I'm never going to learn which are my best dogs to breed for obedience and behavior. If this dog never needed the choke chain or the e-collar, guess this is my dog I want to be breeding. Get what I'm saying? So always start off without it. If they're doing fine without it, then keep it without it. If you have certain situations where the dog does perfect, but in this situation, the choke chain is needed, then because the regular correction isn't working, then that's where your choke chain comes into effect for that situation, but not your general walk. Bank Statement, I like that name. Bank Statement Kendall says, salute. What's up, brother? Thanks for joining in. Chris said, how can I competitions local to? Okay, so I think I answered that. And I'm curious about doing a consult for you to help me get going. Actually just did a consultation, was it yesterday or the day before, on a guy that was doing weight training. So when you're ready, let me know. Don't use YouTube to contact me. Contact me through either Instagram or Facebook. Daryl Thrower on Facebook, or go to Thrower Bullies on Facebook. You can contact me there. I try to stay on top of it. I'm usually on it about every other day, and you can always hit me up on there. Now I have 2 Daryl Thrower pages. One is friends and family. The other one is the one you want to hit up is the one that's Daryl Thrower, and it's a picture of Bull on video of her hanging from the spring pole. So hit me on that one, message me, and when you're ready, we can get that going. Eric Maxwell said, before jumping to a choke chain, try martingale collar. Martingale collars are nice. I also like the slip lead is way more gentle than a choke chain. Yes, I agree with him 100% on that. Martingale is a nice collar. Also, the slip lead is another way to correct. I would try those type of things before jumping to the choke chain. But understand that the choke chain is not something bad. It doesn't hurt the dog. You know what I mean? When we say try those things first, it's not that we're saying try those things first because the choke chain is going to hurt the dog. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is you need to learn how to use a choke chain correctly. The martingale collar, the choke chain tend to be easier things to use and less forceful, and therefore, and that's how you want to understand your dog in stages. Top escalation on stage 2, then that's perfect. It is 6:09, which means in about 10 minutes it's going to kick me out, and remember, I'll jump back in. Watchtower said, my boy is more reactive with sprints on a flirt pole. I think he gets bored running circles because he got good drive. If he got good drive, then he won't get bored going in the circles. And you got to remember, you want to do about, for instance, Floyd will go forever in a circle when he was young. So as I would start getting dizzy, then I would spin the opposite direction. When you spin the opposite direction, that's when you're going to learn. That's when you'll see your dog doing more of the sprints and trying to cut the flirt pole off. So you want to make sure you're doing both directions. Counterclockwise with a right-footed dog, the dog will run in circles. When you go, I mean, my bad. Clockwise with a right-footed dog, the dog will run in circles. Counterclockwise with a right-footed dog, the dog will sprint and try to cut it off. You'll get more of the jumping and more of the more agility done that way. So you want to do both directions. Let's see. Spirit said I made Lincoln decline and not sure what RPS is. Albert said, good evening. What would you consider too long of a walk for an XL bully under 1 year? Under 1 year, the growth plates aren't formed yet. They're almost there, but they're not fully there. So I would say when you get to the point that the dog starts walking, panting, and a true pant, not just he's excited, so he's panting, but a true pant, then that's when you want to start heading back home, and you should be fine. If you get to the point where the dog is drooling, then you've gone too far for a young pup. When you got an adult, you want always remember, panting is exercise, drooling is conditioning. When the drool goes from clear to foam, that's when it's time to stop what you're doing and give a rest. So let's say you happen to be walking away from home, you plan on walking to a certain destination and coming back, or you're walking in a circle and making your way back home. If you get to the point where the drool starts to turn to foam, stop and give your dog a rest for, depending on how good a shape it is, anywhere from 3 to 8 minutes, and then go ahead and continue your walk to make it back home. But that's what I would say for young pups. As far as their joints, depends on the size of the dog. If you're talking about, you said XL. So I would get to the point where once you start to get a true pant, start to head back home. You get back home, all of a sudden you notice the pup is drooling. Then I would say make the walk shorter next time. But you don't want to push them too much at that age. Ramps. Okay. Where was your comment? Where was your comment where you were talking? Okay, there it goes. So I made ramps for Lincoln to climb. Exactly. The A-frame is one of the best forms of exercise you can do with dogs. Make sure you make them correctly so the dog doesn't become injured on them. Make sure the dog, especially if you're using different slats, make sure that the dog's nails are cut whenever you're using A-frames. But A-frame is a great tool to get dogs in shape. Also, make sure that you are getting, especially that's why another reason why I like a 10-foot flirt pole. I can get the dog to go up the A-frame down. Make sure you're encouraging the dog to run down and not jump off of it. If you are using a flirt pole, matter of fact, and the dog is running up the A-frame, don't continue at the same momentum because some dogs will jump from it to catch up. Make sure you're kind of, stop. He jumps and bam. He runs down and bam, continue it again. And also lower it. So the dog runs up, you got the flirt pole, dog runs up, goes after it. As soon as you see him reaching to the top, lower the flirt pole to the bottom to keep him focused on running down and then get it moving again. You want to avoid your dog jumping from the ramp or the A-frame. Mr. J said, be relaxed on the walk. Most people will be so tense when they walk their dog. Yeah, that's true. Always be relaxed. Don't even start your walk till you and the dog are relaxed. And by relaxation, what he's saying is you should have a firm grasp on the leash, but your arms should be relaxed. Your shoulders should be relaxed. And there should be some slack in the leash. You know what I mean? You want that dog to walk. The leash is there so the dog doesn't run off. Therefore, if the dog's walking properly, there should be some slack in the leash. And that's how everything should be relaxed. Enzaratha said, do dogs get strangles too? It's a horse disease. I've never heard of that. No, I unfortunately I can't answer that. So hopefully somebody in the comments can. I've actually never heard of it. WKRK9 said, are blue dogs more prone to skin allergies than other color bullies? If so, why? Yes, they are. And there are people that will argue with me on that. But what they have a hard time explaining is why do we get so many allergies? When it comes to blue dogs, in our program, we have blue dogs. Therefore, if we see an allergy issue, we will not breed that dog. If you're dealing with a breed where allergies are strong, then what you want to do is if you've got a dog that shows he's got allergy issues, if that dog can get rid of those allergy issues by the time it hits 1 to 2 years old, then you know you want to breed that dog to a dog that has zero allergy issues. If that dog has allergy issues after 2 years old, you don't want to breed that dog at all. And that's what's happened with you. Blue is basically black, but it's just diluted. You have your blue dogs. Dilutions tend to mean there's less melanin. Less melanin means there's less of what the skin needs for it to be strong. So that's where you tend to have allergy issues. Now, allergy issues start with the immune system, which tends to be governed by the gut. So there is some correlation with blue dogs, or a lot of blue dogs, not all, but a lot of blue dogs having immune causes skin issues. So again, you want to make sure that you are getting, when you're dealing with blues, and it doesn't mean that black dogs, they're going through a phase where they have a weak immune system, they can have it also. But with your blue dogs, white dogs, etc., those are dogs that you want to feed a feed that is focused on the immune system, whether that's something you're buying or something you're adding to what you buy, the correct fruits, vegetables, sardines, things like that. But you want to make sure that you're constantly feeding them something that boosts their immune system, along with fasting once a week. So I would say with blue dogs, yeah, they are more prone to skin issues. So when you're getting skin or allergy issues, you want to make sure you're getting a blue dog that doesn't have allergies. In the bully community, a lot of breeders will continue breeding those dogs. They'll just, use Benadryl or whatever it is to hide it, or they'll just feed raw. But what they're not doing is breeding away from allergy issues, which is allergy issues come from the immune system. Hotep said, I had to dive in the water after my pocket he immediately sank underwater. Yeah, see, it's just that bulldogish frame on him. They Bill, I don't know who these people are that keep posting these weird things. Daniel says Strangles is a respiratory disease. Okay, thanks for joining in, Daniel. He says Strangles, and Daniel has a lot of information, just so you guys know, on genetics. He knows genes, and he knows alleles and double M's and the length of tails. He knows that stuff. Daniel is very informed on that. Daniel also has been breeding bullies for quite some time. So he's got a lot of information for dogs. Daniel also is into horses. But I know you house horses, if I'm not mistaken. But I also think he might even be into breeding. But Daniel knows horses, common in horses, but dogs also get it. Okay, I've never heard of it, so I'm glad he jumped in here. Thanks, Dan. Hotep said breeding for color should not be done until your dogs are perfect. Spirit said had a friend just lose a few to Strangles. I think that's what you're saying. I've never heard of it. It's also a recessive color of black. Yes, blue is diluted black. Juvenile cellulitis, also known by the name puppy strangles, is an uncommon skin condition of young dogs. I have to look into this. Juvenile cellulitis, which I have heard of, most commonly affects young puppies between 1 and 6 months of age. But hold on, because Daniel said it's a respiratory issue. And you're saying it's a skin condition. Oh, and if it's called Strangles, I would assume it's respiratory. So I'm confused. I'm gonna have to look into that one myself. Jeremiah said, what bloodline was Floyd? I had a razor's edge pit that had the same temperament. Floyd's nuts. Floyd is family red nose Norod line, was an accidental breeding to a boxer. Now I'll go ahead and say it. Floyd's mom was used for fighting, and she was owned by an old dog man. He retired her and was using her for breeding to produce fighting dogs in Long Beach. So his mom was old family red nosed Norod line. It turned out she was distantly related to Norod line of red noses I was dealing with. All right, I'm back. Just like clockwork, an hour and 20 minutes. It always happens. But she was distantly related to that bloodline. A friend had come across him and figured out that the blood that this old dude was using, Norod line, was distantly related to the Norod line I was dealing with when I was breeding American Pit Bull Terriers, old family red nose, probably about 15 to 20 years beforehand. But there was an accidental breeding to a boxer that was owned by his sister when he went out of town. And the pups off of that he was using for catch work, which was what I was looking for at the time. So it was just by coincidence. He had then taken one of the male pups, bred it back to the mom, and then that's how I got Floyd. So Floyd is 1/4 old family red nosed Norod line, and I mean he's 3/4 old family red nosed Norod line, 1/4 boxer, due from an inbreeding of a son bred to back to the mother. Um, but the last litter that I produced for protection and catch work was Floyd's. She would be what I guess considered a standard bully, but or classic bully. I would say she was what she was old school Razor's Edge. And those pups were perfect. One, maybe two got used for catch work. The rest went to pet homes. Two went to one went to protection, and then two actually were used for guard work. Uh, a guy, a large car lot in downtown LA. A lot of drug addicts. So he had those two dogs. You doing protection work there, a male and a actually it was two males that he used, and I was surprised because they actually got along. Floyd, out of that litter of 11, only one of those pups came out exactly with Floyd's mentality. The rest were close, but not all the way there. But yeah, the last breeding before I got into bullies was Floyd bred to a Razor's Edge female that I own. Spirit said, "Toy time is one of the best ways to have a better personal relationship with pup one-on-one." Exactly. And people have to think about that. We get into breeding and we open the kennels up, and we let the dogs run around. Always have that individual time with your dog. And every dog that you own, if you can't take that individual time, then you've got too many dogs. Let's see here. Jason Barr said, "Have you had a dog allergic to flea and tick treatment? Are the signs that same as food allergies?" They are very similar because you start to get the patches of fur, and you'll start noticing little patches. I do not use any form of flea or tick treatment. I never have. Even as a kid, my dad was against it, flea and sprays and things like that. He was always big, and I followed up with it on watering the yard heavy on a daily basis. That way, if there's fleas and stuff in the grass and bushes, they get knocked down to the ground and they tend to drown in the water. And he was always big on bathing the dog twice a week. Every now and then, I will use a flea shampoo, but because of my dad, I mix that shampoo with a regular non-flea shampoo. So I'll mix it together and then use it. I don't think we use a flea or anything shampoo now. We get a yard full of rabbits in the morning. Squirrels run through the yard. So it just hasn't been an issue for me. It never has. As far as ticks, the only time I've ever had tick issues is when I've taken the dogs out hunting. Every now and then they hit some bush or whatever, and we get back to the camp, and I've noticed they've got ticks on them. But and then I'll sit there and plucking the ticks off. But other than that, I've never had issues with fleas and ticks. But to avoid that, I use garlic in their food, in the dog's food every other day. They get my large dogs get a clove of garlic. My smaller dogs, beagles, Jack Russells, will get half a clove every other day. I make it a main part of their food, and I've never had flea and tick issues. It was a rule my dad started off with when I was like 6, 7 years old, and I just always stuck with it, and it was never an issue. So I can't speak on me having dogs allergic to them. What do you look for when you want to jumpstart your kennel with getting your first dog? Based off, some breeds come how a dog is supposed to come. American bullies, they don't. American bullies come with species issues. Beyond breed issues, they come with species flaws. High rears, weak pasterns, splayed toes, stiff stifles, they come with all that. You got people who've been breeding this breed for whatever strange reason. They've been breeding this breed 15, 20 years, and because they fall in love with bulldog traits. But we won't get into that. What I would say is the best thing you could start your kennel with is a female. If you got the money to get a bully, I would say get yourself a female. You can get 2 dogs and get 2 unrelated dogs, male and female. But I would say get yourself a female. Take your time watching stud owners and other bully breeders, what they're doing. Watch her development for about a year or 2, and then go ahead and pick your male. Now you're gonna have to wait till he's a year before they can breed. So now your female is about 2 years old. Bam, you're right on time. So when she hits about a year old, you know what you're dealing with. From there, pick your male, and now you're able to look at her conformation and what needs to be fixed. You're able to look at her temperament. If she's a little lazier than what you want, then you're able to look for a male that's got more energy, shows more energy. If she's a little over energy, then you're able to look for a male that's a little more laid back. If she's got lack of angulation, you look for a male that's got better angulation. But wait till she's about a year, so now she's pretty much developed. Males will keep on developing, and some females, especially in bull-bred breeds, for 2, 3 years. But overall, you should be able to see what you got by the time that dog hits a year old. And now temperament is going to change a little bit from 1 to 2 years, but at least once she hits a year, you can pick a male, and by the time she hits her 2nd or 3rd heat, that male is ready to breed. So use that 6 to 12 months to scope out what males you want to get, and then go from there based off of her conformation and her temperament and her ability. 862 said, thoughts on using 2 females from the same dam, different sire, as a foundation to start building from. Okay. Thoughts on using 2 females from the same dam, but a different sire, as a foundation to start building from. I would say that's great, as long as that dam that you're using is what you're looking for in is a good start for your foundation of your yard. I would say that's great. You know what I mean? Because now you got a little bit of genetic. You got something that's consistent from. Hopefully, you got good traits from that dam. Hopefully, you got, especially since you got 2 pups from it. Hopefully, you got good traits from both of the fathers. And then when you do decide to do a breeding, you get your male, and you decide to start breeding, you've got a little more genetic diversity. So I think that's a great situation. What up, Rob? He said if you want him to see your comments, I think you have to go to YouTube. Yeah, okay. If you're on, okay, now Rob's name showed up. So I think that means he clicked that link that sometimes pops up on the post. If I'm not seeing your comments, it's because some people comment but not their name. Other people is not showing their comment at all. Go to YouTube, and I will guarantee see you. Subscribe, and I'll guarantee see you plus your comments. Thanks for saying that, Rob. Good looking out. That's my dude right there. So y'all show him some love. I keep forgetting to go through here and get rid of you spammers. I don't even know what you're spamming. So if that's a link, do not click on it. Ace 900 of Demon Life Bully said, how do I know if my dog has PTSD? I would need more detail on why you think it has it and how old your dog is. So put that in the comments and I'll get to it when I see it. But remind me of this comment when I see it. You know, like our teachers used to say, I need complete sentences. So I'll get to that. Thanks for the advice. I really appreciate it. No problem, man. And thanks for always joining in, Rhodes. Dom said, my female is super good with me. Is there any chance she will be protective / aggressive of her pups while she's giving for my other half? Chances are she won't. What I would suggest you and your household do is start getting making sure a bond is built with everybody. Everybody's getting that one-on-one time with her now before she delivers pups. Her to release it. When she's got food bowl, she's eating her food. You want to be able to remove the food from her. You want to be able to put your hand in the bowl with her. These are the things you want to start doing before she has pups. And those will give you a good sign of how she may respond to things once she has pups. You need to make sure your whole house is doing that. You, your kids, your wife, everybody is doing those little things before the pups arrive. And then especially doing it throughout her pregnancy, almost overdo it throughout her pregnancy. But don't be an asshole about it. Put your hand in her food. She backs away or she continues eating and gives your hand room. Go ahead, pet her, let her know good doggy. You know, she has a chew toy. You take it from her. She's chilling on the floor, eating while you watching TV. Chewing on the chew toy while you're watching TV. Grab the chew toy from her. Don't snatch it. Just reach in. Don't go slow either, because then you look suspicious. Just reach in like you would normally do to pet her. Grab the chew toy and go from there. The biggest thing people do that triggers dogs is being afraid to get bit. It does take a certain amount of experience with dogs to block out that fear, but you've got to tell yourself, I'm going to block out that fear, take a deep breath, and I'm just going to reach in and I'm going to grab it and I'm going to pull it from her. Teach her to release. Do all these things, and then when she becomes pregnant, you want to start overdoing those things and always praise her and give her good love after you've done those things that have intruded on her space. Give her a lot of love so that she gets it that no one in this house is ever here to harm you. You've got pups, and now all of a sudden your mom or your brother, your sister, somebody, your friend wants to come over and they want to see the pups. They need to give her space. They're not part of the family. They're not part of the pack. They need to give her their space. Even if they're once a week. If they're not living there, they do not need to get involved with her and her pups. That's overboard. That's overdoing it. You don't even want them to be a concern. You can pick the pups up, bring the pups to them, let them pet it, bring the pup back to mom. She'll probably lick the pup to get their scent off of it and go from there. But make sure that you're doing those type of things so that you can be. Rose said, my male took more master traits from his mother and his sister. Okay, hold on. My male took more master traits from his mother, and his sister took more Amstaff traits from her dad. That's natural. And we've explained it on here before. The female, most of the male's genetic information for his male offspring is used to make them males. When it comes to the female, all species are supposed to be naturally female, and then something goes wrong and it makes them males. So makes some of them males. So when it comes to your female, she's always going to give 50% of her genetic information to her offspring, male or female. When it comes to the male, he's going to give 50% of his genetic offspring to the females, and then he's going to give some of his genetic offspring to, but the majority of his genetic information is going to be to making that male pup a male pup. So that's the best way to look at it. So that's typical. Ostep said, yes, it's called a whelping pause. Now, I'm not sure what you were talking about. I remember you bringing that up, but I'm not sure exactly what you were talking about. Robert says, just up the calcium and phosphorus. Okay, you pups and getting her through her delivery process. Bully said, got a 10-month-old male that's A-frame causing slight east-west. Is it too late for chest to spread to correct feet? No, it's not too late. He's only 10 months old, but you also want to look at the genetics of the pedigree of the dog. And this is when pedigree comes in. Pedigree is not supposed to be about names. It's supposed to be about traits. So you want to look at the traits of the mom and dad and start going back in their genes, their pedigree for, I'd say 3 to 4 generations, and see if you spot somebody with an A-frame. If you spot somebody with an A-frame, then you might have an issue with it. If you don't, then there's a good chance that he'll grow out of that as his chest widens. So go through your pedigree and look for traits that you're seeing. Rose said they both have amazing structures and carry a lot of prey drive. There you go. James Galloway in the house. What's up, man? Where are we? We're at 6:06. Oh, shit. I'm 30 minutes behind on the comments. Let's get to the next topic. Are she-males good for the breed or your yard? My answer to that is straight up no for both. They are a bad thing. The only thing a she-male has to offer is to the human aspect of dogs. That's it. That's all they have to offer. Our own human selfishness and self-indulgence. The more your females become looking like males, the more genetic variance you are losing with your yard and eventually the breed. If you look at bullies right now, a lot of people have she-males. They brag on she-males. And the she-males are then bred to overly masculine, extremely bully-type males, and then they produce these dogs that the bully community loves and says are great. The problem with those dogs is they're losing more and more genetic diversity. There's a reason our wives don't look like men. There's a reason our daughters don't look like men. There's a reason women select men that look like men and not men that look like women. It's natural. It's for genetic diversity. The more she-males you have within a breed, the more you will first start losing utility. You will then start losing the immune system, and you will start taking on more diseases and lower immune systems within that breed. Start having more allergy issues and things like that. So she-males are not good. You need to be able to look at your dog and that female has the features that you like, but still look like a female. Because guess what? When she produces her males, that dad's genetic information, like we just got finished talking about, went to make him a male. The testosterone kicks in, and bam, he doesn't look like his mom or his sisters. So when we start pushing for masculine built females, we are losing everything that keeps a breed healthy. We need to get out of that whole she-male phase. People will look at Cardi Bull, and in some pictures, she looks like a she-male. She is built in body. She is built in body. But there are also pictures where she looks, a little more graceful. It just kind of depends on the angle of the picture. But and when I talk about she-male, the main thing you want to focus on is the head. When you start losing feminine appearance of the head especially, you are going to start losing those issues. You start getting that she-male look in the head, the body becomes over muscular, the body becomes over boned up. Males are supposed to be big head, thick bone, let me rephrase that. The male of all breeds should be a taller dog, thicker bone, and bigger head, okay? And thicker muscle as testosterone kicks in. Your female, if it's a bully breed or bull bred breed, you want to see some of the same things, but You don't want it to be as much as the male. When the females start looking like males, you are losing genetic variety in your yard. You're also losing it in the breed. And then what happens is now you start having issues when you start line breeding, and especially when you start inbreeding. So no, she-males is not a good thing. You want your secondary sex characteristics to be present in your breed. That's just what it's needed. There's a reason males are attracted to females, and females are attracted to males that look like males, and males are attracted to females that look like females of all species, human to, my bad, I'm old. It's 2022. Things have changed with humans. But as far as everything else on the planet, this is why you want to pay attention to that. So when you see that extra bully female and you need more bullying, okay, so I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say you got a male and somebody's gonna get me for what I said. Anyway, let's say you got a male and he is lean. You want to add more mass that have more. You can find females that have more. Why did it pause? You can find females that have more bullier traits than what your male has, but they should not be she-males. Okay. Then from there, you're going to take pups from there that are come off more especially your male pups off of that breeding that carry more of their mom's genetic appearance that you're looking for. That's how you want to do it. Be willing to take longer correct route rather than the short wrong route, and then you'll get what you're needing. Then at some point you can start doing the line breeding, the inbreeding to create your bloodline. But if you're aiming at she-males all the time and that's what you're sticking with even in your own offspring, you're going to lose genetic variance and you're going to create a yard that you can't do line breeding and inbreeding with. Or when you do line breeding, you start to have issues, things start to be overdone. And you have to know what overdone is in the species and the breed, because people will make excuses for it. ADBA, not sure what, I know that's a registry. Let's see. Oh, ADBA. I think he's talking about the weight pool. That I didn't even think about them. ADBA does have a lot of weight pool competitions. For the guy that was asking about weight pool. Brian says stud owners. What are my friends talking about right now? Stud owners should only breed to select females to better their productions. We're going to get into that. And definitely don't breed an unregistered female to a registered male, and definitely have contracts in place. We're going to get into that. Rashad said, IWPA, I believe, is still around for weight pool. Yes, that's another one. And I think they are still around. There are a couple weight pool clubs around. Eric said, when it comes to choke chains and discipline, you should always use the lowest level so you don't overcorrect. Exactly. Give your dog a chance to feel pressure coming on and correct itself. Agree, 100%. Ashley said, yes, puppy strangles are a thing. Gitman said, I'm sure this has been answered before, but when do you know if the bully is classic or standard? I know at a year upward growth stops, but about how with my guy looks classic, but he just turned 1. Okay. I think the classic style dog is needed in the bully breed, especially. But the classic style dog exists in every single breed that is in existence. It usually is typically the working variety of whatever that breed, rather than the show variety or the pet home variety. In the bully, when it comes to the classic class, it doesn't make sense, in my opinion, and the rest of the dog world, to have a classic class due to the fact it's the same height. Classes are supposed to be broken down. In the bully community, we have the classic class and the standard class, and they're the same height. Never heard of that before. Doesn't make much sense, but I get why the ABKC does it. And that's to make sure that the classic class is still relevant. The problem with that is the classic class hasn't stuck to what the classic always has been. today's classic was yesterday's standard, and the standard has become more extreme now. So classic and the standard are the same height. How do you tell the difference? Unfortunately, you have to look at dogs at shows, what the judge, what class the dog is performing at, and all the standard class dogs, those are what you need to be looking at as standard, and all the classic class dogs at the show, that's what you need to be looking at as classic. The bully is one of the first breeds in history that is 100% created around the show ring. So it's up to preference. So this year's judge may say your dog's a standard, and in 5 years he may be saying your dog's now a classic. So welcome to the bully world. Hope that answered your question. But I start going to shows, seeing what the standard preference is and what the classic preference is, and then gauge where your dog is based on that. Because other than that, the standard and the classic are the exact same height. Eric, yes, dogs can get their whipworms. Are you talking about the Stongy I've never heard of. Y'all coming up with some new stuff today. I need to put y'all on the live and let me get in the comments. Nucky Gamble said, can we speak on fasting the dogs? We'll go into that quick because I get to get caught because everybody dogs every other day. These are dogmen that I know, especially with working dogs. When it comes to fasting, especially with a bully or dogs that I only work seasonal, based off of deer season or boar or when we're all together to go hunt coyotes or whatever. Excuse me. But other than that, until that period comes, they're pets. I fast, once a week. You want to give the dog a chance to clean out its system. You also notice fasting boosts the immune system. So you fast for 24 hours. I feed Monday through Saturday. Sunday, I don't feed the dogs. Their workout regimen does not change whatsoever. Their walks, whatever it is you do with your dog doesn't change. It needs to stay the same because you want them absorbing everything they can absorb. So I don't feed them Sunday. So let's say I feed my dogs at 5 o'clock every day. Come Sunday at 5 o'clock, they won't be fed. They'll be fed again come Monday, 5 o'clock. That way it gives them time to poop everything out, absorb everything that they can absorb, pee everything out, helps them clear their system. And then it also gives me the ability to focus on what I want to focus on come Monday. So let's say it's Wednesday and I notice my dog has some type of allergy issue. I notice a fur spot is missing, or somehow I notice an allergy issue or some type of breakout. What I will do with that, I will fast that day immediately. Then I'm also going to fast that dog again on Sunday because that's when the whole pack, everybody fasts. So that specific dog, if I notice an allergy issue, I'll fast that dog that day to help it boost its immune system back up. Then come Sunday, the whole pack fast. So that dog is actually going to fast twice that week. Come Monday, I'm going to remember, I noticed this dog had an allergy issue. So Monday's diet will start based off of what I want to do to boost the immune system. That way, that's the first thing in that dog's system after fasting. Let's say I want my dogs to gain weight. I fast on Sunday. Monday's diet is going to be focused on what I call protein day, which is going to be sardines and raw ground beef. And that will be Monday's diet. So that way fasting gives you the ability to fasting on Sunday gives you the ability to come back on Monday and decide what direction your yard needs to go for that week based off what you noticed for that week. So fast once a week. On the flip side, do not start fasting dogs until they're at least a year old. If you have, let's say I feed once my dogs hit a year old, I only feed them once a day. Let's say you a person that, feeds twice a day. Then when it comes to Sundays, you're gonna skip both of those meals. Now, there have been times with certain breeds where I would start fasting at 6 months. So let's say I'm feeding my dog 2 to 3 times a day. Let's say I'm feeding my dogs twice a day at 6 months, which is what I do. Then come Sunday, if I decide to fast that dog, they're just going to skip one meal. Okay. Don't fast 24 hours until the dog has reached a year old, because now they're coming to the end of their main growth phases. Eric said, I thought he was talking about strongyloids. I've never heard of strongyloids though, so you brought up something new for me. Let's see. Betsy Spirit Rider said, laugh out loud, laugh out loud. I was talking like Scooby Doo. Right at the good part, story time. Solo, friend of mine is female, got it luckily he caught it early enough. Her face was swollen, red bumps on her face. Dom said, how about Head and Shoulders for fleas and hot spots? I heard it works super good too. When you are having issues like hot spots and things, dandruff type shampoos with charcoal, there's one made by Neutrogena, and I can't think of what it's called. That's another good one. That if you're noticing your dog, because it helps strip the fur. You just want to make sure that you come back with whether you use coconut oil or whatever to replenish the oils in the dog's fur. But I don't know about using Head and Shoulders, but because it's a dandruff shampoo, if you are having issues, for hot spots, I would assume it could possibly work. But the hot spots, you want to make sure you're treating it. Also, this is one of the best products you can get. Let me see, new stock for treating those things, and you only use it. I think it's either use it every 3 to 4 days when you're having an issue. I don't remember which, but the thing I like about new stock is it's strong. It works great. Now, and again, it's strong in smell too, so don't put it on your dog and have your dog on your bed or your couch. But if you use new stock, you can only use it every 3 to 4 days. So what I'll do if I notice an issue, I'll use new stock on Monday, knowing that come Thursday I'm about to use it again. But on Tuesday and Wednesday, I'll use coconut oil in that same spot. And that's one of my favorite things about new stock, is that you can constantly use something in between. Let's see. Betsy said mane and tail horse shampoo and Epsom salt in their pool this year is all I use for fleas. Yes, Epsom salt is good for fleas also. As far as keeping it off, I'm not too sure about that. Yes, definitely. Thanks for saying that, Gitman. Or G Hitman. I'm not sure which it is. But yeah, hit that like button, you guys, definitely. Devaster owner said, what advice you give when starting to breed a male stud? What are the options for delivering the male dog sperm to a breeder? You basically are going to be shipping it. This is going to be a first time issue for me next year, or not next year, this year, within the next 4 to 6 months. I'll be moving to our property in Arkansas, where there's a lot more space to do what I'm used to doing with dogs. We have a lot of space here. The problem is I can't take on more dogs here. It's just not set up for that. Whereas when we move to Arkansas, I'll be able to set up an actual true kennel and get things going there. And then we've got a horse run. I don't plan on having horses, so we can go ahead and start doing a lot of the things that I'm used to doing with dogs, and my neighbors won't be looking at the crazy dog man doing his thing again with 10 to 12 dogs. So this is going to be my first time dealing with it. Basically, you can have semen shipped to you. From my understanding, the best thing is to have it shipped to the actual vet. So you need to contact your local vet to figure out how they normally deal with it. You can have it shipped if you plan on, let's say you plan on doing it all yourself, you have it shipped to you, you want to be ready to do the AI and everything right away. The shipping The other thing is when it's shipped, it comes with something that's going to help keep it cool. Usually it's a foam box I've seen. There's I can't think of the name of it. And Daniel, if he's still in here, he probably knows there's a company that uses a pointer. He's in a pointing stance as their logo. And I know they ship semen. So that's something I have to look into in the detail. What I will say is if your vet is going to be doing it, best thing for you to do is have it sent to your vet, have it expedited or overnighted. Be there at your vet when it gets there with your female. And then that way, oh snap, let me plug my phone back in. That way, when it gets there, you're ready to go. You need to let your vet know that you're ready to go. And but definitely talk to your vet and what they feel would be the best way that it should be done. If you're doing it yourself, then I would advise because there's a thawing out process or a process where you're letting it get back to room temperature, the semen get back to room temperature, and then you do your AI. So that's actually a good topic that I can look into more detail now. I wasn't planning on really looking into it until I moved, but I'm going to have to be dealing with the same thing in the next few months. So you and I are in the same place. But if you're going to be using a vet or whoever does your AIs, contact them and find out what they feel is the best way to do it. You just want to make sure that you are there with your female when it arrives. And that's what you want to be planning on. And of course, you know, you're going to get the heebie-jeebies. You want it to get there and it's 2 hours late. Just be there, ready to chill until it arrives. Eric said, with PTSD, look for triggers, and when you identify them, then you have to figure out if it's a regular fear or caused by trauma. PTSD in dogs usually means dog was abused or had a tough job, like police. Exactly. And see, and that's where my thought process is. But I just want to know why he's calling it PTSD. I want to know why, because a lot of time, especially in today's society, we like to throw out terms. Like you talk to kids nowadays and they all say they have anxiety. When I was most of these kids' age, I didn't know what anxiety was. If I had it, I didn't know. I was ADHD as a kid. I didn't get any pills. I got spankings. And today you get kids claiming how they're ADHD and they've never had a doctor tell them that. So, you know, that's why I say I try to avoid speaking on those type of things unless I know what you're talking about. So hopefully he's put it in there. I think I am 20 minutes behind. So I've caught up 10 minutes. So I'm 20 minutes behind in the comments right now. So hopefully he put in exactly why he thinks the dog has PTSD. And when I say why, I'm not talking about what the dog's doing now. I'm saying, what do you think the dog has been through that has caused is post-trauma? So what do you think that has caused this trauma? Where do you think it started? And then we can kind of break into that. How long whelping pauses can be anywhere from 5 minutes to 10, as long as 48 hours. And that came from Hotep. Somebody from Facebook is laughing. Hotep said, could this she-male factor be the reason my foundation bitch hasn't been taking? It can definitely be. If she's overly masculine, it can definitely be. Dogs that are overly masculine, especially in your bull breeds, do have issues with taking. It is just a factor. And when the more she-males we include in our breed or the yard, the more issues we're going to see with them giving birth. Now with them becoming pregnant and with them being able to give birth. Betsy says, so what if your female has breed type, but has the drive like a bull male? That's great. You know, here's where you'll notice the difference. With most of my working dogs, I've had high drive females. When they're working with high drive males, the difference I would notice is the female does tend to look, especially when they start hitting about 2 years old, the female does tend to use a more thought, whereas the male runs more off aggression and adrenaline. And then he starts thinking as he becomes tired a little bit. The female just will tend to use her brain more. When I was dealing with bull lurchers, you would see the female, if they were after something, kind of timing it or kind of anticipating what that next move was about to be. whereas the male was just flush. So two high-driven dogs, one male, one female, were doing bull lurchers, and they're after a coyote or a rabbit. You'll notice the rabbit's running, the female's running. All of a sudden, the rabbit cuts. The female tends to anticipate it. Whereas with the male, the rabbit cuts and he runs past it and kind of has to loop back and come back after it because he's running off adrenaline and testosterone. He's going at it. Female includes thought. When your dogs start getting more masculine, because body follows mind, mind follows body. So when your dogs start getting more masculine, they start becoming femaleish, you're going to notice they tend to think less, and they're going to lose those things that we love about females in the species we call dog. Hotep said that's how my female is. Yeah, so a driven female is great. She should still be a female. Let's see. Why am I? Oh, I'm getting invited to a whatchamacallit on Clubhouse. Hotep said more so than her belly brother. Okay, so I'm assuming you're saying she's more. Hold on, bro. Let me go back to you said, could this female factor be the reason my foundation bitch hasn't been taking? Okay, then you said more so. All right, so I'm not too sure what you mean by that. It worries me the amount of drive I see at times. I love drive. You just want to be able to control it. You know what I mean? At the same time, I'm used to high-driven dogs and aggressive dogs. Floyd used to have my wife paranoid. It took her a few years to get used to it because he wanted to attack everything. You know, she would have him outside. He'd see a dog walking past the fence. Our other dogs would run. Our other females would run, and they'd be running up to the fence, barking and growling at the fence. Floyd would just run smack straight into the fence. No bark, no growl, no nothing. After he bounced off the fence, then he would start kind of barking. He would even get to the point where he would lick the metal on the fence, thinking it was somehow going to soften it up so he could chew through it. So it is something I agree that you have to get used to. I'm used to it, so therefore I'm very preventative with aggressive dogs or high-driven dogs. I'm always 10 steps ahead of them so that there are no issues. My neighbors are always fine. You know, I get guys that think they're tough. They move into the neighborhood and they've got their big, huge dog and they think he's tough. Floyd's only 60 pounds. Here I come walking down the street and I go ahead and cross the street. I let him have it. There's no reason for me to play tough guy with Floyd because 9 times out of 10, you're a big bull mastiff, American bulldog, XL, whatever it is, he's going to wash him. And I'm not trying to have that issue with him. So I will always cross and let them have that space. After a while, they think they're tough. Ooh, I made him cross the street with his dog. Eventually, they start realizing my dog was barking, their dog was barking and growling. All Floyd was doing was scratching at the cement to get to him. He didn't make no sounds other than panting. Eventually, they walk past the house. They see there's a difference between him and other aggressive dogs. Their dog also sees it's a difference between him and other aggressive dogs. Eventually, that conversation happens. We talk about Floyd, and that's when I let him know, like, yeah, he's crazy. That's why when you come down the street, I cross the street. No need for me to play tough guy when it comes to dogs. So I would say embrace the drive the bully, embrace it. Just make sure that it is what the breed is supposed to be, but there's nothing in the standard that says the bully has to have a low prey drive. So one, what drive are we speaking on? And then two, enjoy it, embrace it, just be 10 steps ahead of it so that your neighbors and other people's dogs are fine. Matter of fact, just to give you an example, when it came to Floyd boar hunting, he loves it. Problem is, Floyd's a fighter. He's not your typical catch dog that hits the boar, gets into a quick struggle with the boar. As the boar calms down, the dog calms down, stays locked on it. That's how it's supposed to happen because then you prevent the other dogs from getting hurt. Floyd, he hits a boar, he's turning it into a fight. There is no such thing as him stopping shaking. He's constantly going to be shaking, and it's constantly going to cause that boar to be fighting back instead of just standing there still, which is going to cause other dogs to get excited. They jump in, he causes injuries. Bobcats, coyotes, raccoons, that's perfect for Floyd. He can go in, he can have his fight, make his kill. That's what he's in it for. So, you know, like I say, embrace the drive. Hotep said, why does it worry you? G Hitman said, I use a choke collar, but about to switch to a slip knot. I like the slips. Don't get me wrong. I think he's dope. Spears said, I'm an old goat, sweetie. She'll drag me down the, oh. Okay, so in that, like I said, you want to be working with obedience and behavior at home, and then therefore take the dog out. I know your dogs are driven. I've seen your videos. So what I would say is work on obedience and behavior at home. That way it's assisting you when you do have the dog on leash and you take it out. And then also remember you have your prong and your e-collars. You just want to make sure that you're using them correctly. G Hitman said, just curious because his parents are both pocket. Not sure about what that was. What up, Black Bottom Bullies? Thanks for joining in, man. All right, let's go ahead. I think we're on the last topic. Last topic. Should stud owners breed to anyone willing to pay the fee? Are they bettering the breed or hindering it? And we're going to go ahead and we are going to get into that. And then after that, I will go back through and complete all the comments and questions you have. This is a double-edged sword. There is no correct answer to it, in my opinion. I think there's so many flaws in this breed. I think if a stud, here's how I look at it. If a stud owner is not breeding to complement the breed and the female that he's breeding to, he is hindering the breed and strictly in it for money. So we know in the bully game, a lot of these dogs have high rears. A lot of these dogs have weak pasterns. A lot of these dogs have lack of angulation. A lot of these dogs are either overly aggressive or they are just lazy, have no drive whatsoever. If a stud owner is willing to breed to a female that has any of those same issues that I just named, then he is strictly in it for the money, and he is hindering the breed. Some people may say, well, he has a high rear and she has a high rear, but he's more bully. At least he's adding that bully. They're full of shit, and they're strictly in it just for their own human indulgence. It has nothing to do with the breed. It has nothing to do with dogs. It is strictly them being human. For example, King of Diamonds, we did not stud him out. A lot of the females that people that came to us about breeding to King of Diamonds, we turned them down. Why? Because King is a 26 to 27 inch dog. Does he have the bone people want? Yes. Is he spread even at 26 to 27 inches? Yes. He's got the big head. His head is, I want to say 28 inches. One person measured it as at 29 inches. Another person measured it as at 28 inches. Me and Fred Durant tried to measure it at one of the XL show. And he just would not be still. And I think Fred came to like 27 and a half before we finally gave up. But King's got a huge head, huge neck, huge body. But at 26 to 27 inches, what would happen is people were heavily and are heavily into trying to breed the biggest dog. We're not going to breed King to another 26, 27 inch female. That's not what the breed, is supposed to be. King fixes rears. If you have a dog that has a high rear, King will fix that. If you got a dog that's got weak pasterns, King will fix that. If you got a dog that's got splayed toes, King will fix that. His paws look like, cat feet, like boxing gloves. He'll fix those things. King has loose skin under his neck. You got a female that has loose skin under the neck, we're not breeding King to it. And I don't even think that's that big of a deal. but I'm in a community that makes excuses for everything. So therefore, I'm harder on myself and I'm harder on what I'm willing to get involved in. And I think a lot of breeders need to take that attitude. So we could have made a lot of money off of King. Truth is, we have only approved one person to breed with King. And that person is waiting to have the right female to do the breeding. Raul, he and I have talked about, we never have gone through it, but he and I have talked about it. Again, though, I need to see that female before we would do it. We're not in this for the money. As much shit as I talk, about what I see in this breed and with the breeders, I can't go back on what I say just for money. And I can't make mistakes on things that I haven't said anything about just for money. So when it comes to, these studs, if a stud owner is willing to breed to a flaw that he has on his male, he's strictly in it for the money, regardless of whether it adds more bulliness to that female. Because now bulliness you can get with 1 to 2 breedings, but you're giving flaws to these females' offspring that are going to take 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 breedings to get rid of. So, are they hindering the breed by breeding to anybody that's willing to breed to their dog? Yes. What a lot of stud owners will say is, well, I've got a good stud, so as long as I put him out there, then he's helping the breed. That's only true if your stud has no more than 2 flaws. And those flaws can't be high rear. That can't be an issue. Weak pasterns, lack of angulation, if the dog has a high rear, he should not be bred to another dog with a high rear. And you need to breed him first to inside your yard with your female that doesn't have a high rear to figure out if he's going to be able to get rid of it. Because if his mom had a high rear, chances are he's going to have high rear. If his dad had a high rear and he happened to get it from his dad, he may or may not pass that on. So these are the things that have to be thought about when you're dealing with stud owners. If you just don't give a shit, then, the dog's got the name or he's got the girth or he's bully, as everybody likes to say, then, that's on you. And you just need to admit to yourself you're in this for the money or your own human indulgence. But to be a part of a breed in the beginning stages, and you have the opportunity to put your stamp on it and do it correctly, especially this breed. You've got old breeders and new breeders that have the same issues in their yard because those old breeders have never done what it took to correct what's in their yard. Why be the same as all them? Put your stamp on it. It's a new breed. For whatever reasons, it's still in an extremely new phase. It doesn't just have breed flaws, it has species flaws. Why not get in there and start trying to fix it off jump? You know what I mean? And if you have a stud, the only way you can truly say you're in it to better the breed is by breeding 2 dogs that you're going to complement. And if those dogs have the same issues that you have, you're not bettering the breed. You're just in it for the money and you're using all the bully phrases that sound good. And that's all I got to say on that. So if you want to better the breed through your stud, then your stud can't have more than 2 flaws. And none of those 2 flaws can be high rears, underbites, small heads, lack of girth, lack of bone. These can't be issues. You can't have species issues and breed issues. If you got lack of angulation, cool, but don't breed to females that have also lack angulation. Stud them out to females that do have angulation so they can get the other things that your stud has that complement them. And that's how you have to be looking at it as a stud owner. The other aspect, temperament. If you've got a lazy male that just sits around and does nothing, and you breed to a female that's lazy and sits around and does nothing, you're not better in the breed. If you have a extremely hyper male breeding to an extremely hyper female, if that's not what the person's looking for, you have to question them. So, for instance, our breed is supposed to be well, UKC doesn't care about dog aggression. ABKC does. But the breed, you figure this breed should at least be able to function in a show ring without trying to kill every dog that it sees. So if you've got a male that's extremely dog aggressive, you don't want to breed to a female that's dog aggressive. You don't want to breed to a female that out asking about whether she's dog aggressive. Because, excuse me, because then all you're doing is perpetuating that. You're continuing it. So balance is the key. And if you're bettering the breed, then your male has to have the look and formation and temperament that actually betters the breed. Other than that, if all it is bully, or all it is has a big head, you're not bettering the breed. You are hindering the breed by passing on flaws. Let's get to the comments so we can wrap it up. Where are we at? We've been on here 2 hours and 15 minutes. Hotep said training provides control. Exactly. Let's see. Spirit said first thing I did was get a trainer. There you go. And let's see. Hotep said, did it work? All right. And Ace 900 said, how I know if my dog had PTSD. Okay, cool. You know what? The way you did that was perfect. He went back to the subject, and now he's typing what he's got to say. My other dogs passed from gunshots. On New Year's, and she just lay around and barely eats since then. She don't bark or anything anymore. Okay. All right. I would call that a form of PTSD. What you're going to have to do is, and you said she barely eats since then and she don't bark or anything anymore. When it comes to a dog that has had eating issues, so let's deal with that part first. You want to start giving her more exercise. That way it causes bond between you and her, also builds her confidence. That exercise is going to make her more hungry. Also included fasting in it, just once a week. And her appetite should pick back up. Give her whatever her favorite foods are to help pick back up. Cut out all snacks. Okay. So that's the way you deal with the fasting. Dogs typically are not genetically designed to wallow in their emotions. That's more of a human thing. So you want to hurry up and figure out how to get her through it. The next thing, you say, since then, she doesn't bark or anything anymore. Start getting her out more. Taking her to Tractor Supply, PetSmart, just different things where she could come across more people, more sounds, other dogs. Expose her to as much as possible. She doesn't have to be petted. She doesn't have to be sniffing. Just to see and hear things going on. Understanding those things are fine. Take her on car rides. Things like that. Get her used to those things. Get her out of the house and this comfortable environment that she's in so that you can move her through it more quickly. When she reaches a point that she is stable, come next New Year's, you're going to go through this again. So you got a whole year to work on it. So do as much as possible as you can to build her confidence and in all types of aspects. Training, obedience, praising her when she does something right. All these things help build her confidence. Come next New Year's, you're going to have issues with the fireworks. Start introducing her to cap guns. I don't have a belt around me. You take your belt, you know how when we were kids, you take your belt and you take the handle to the end of it and you make that pop sound. Introduce her to those things. Don't trip on her with it though. So there's no belt around here, but you can make a pop sound, a loud clap, things like that. So while she's chilling, you chill, just make a pop sound with a belt. Boom, she's good. You know what I'm saying? Let her relax from it. Praise her. You know what I'm saying? Do it again. Make sure though when you praise her that you praise her when she's gotten over it, not while she's going through it. When she's going through it, you want to ignore her. Okay. Make another loud sound. Your little cheap guns from the liquor store, the little cheap pop guns, you can use those also. The things that, well, not the confetti things, because then you got to clean that up afterwards. But anything that's going to make a pop sound. The thing I like about the belts is you can do it repetitively. When you take a belt and you loop it and you hold the two ends, you can do it repetitively. And I'm in sweats right now, so I don't have a belt. Mikey, he's at the gym. I don't have a belt around me at all. I need to quit looking because I know there's not one. But yeah, when we were kids, we all used to do that. Pop, 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 pop with a belt. You take the buckle, loop it to the other end, and then we sit there popping them. Wide leather belts do it the best. And just pop, pop, pop. So what you want to do is, bam, get that belt, go, let her relax. When she relaxes, praise her. When you can get to the point where you pop it once and she doesn't even respond to it, now you want to do 2 pops. Pop, pop. See how she does. But you want to start doing this as you get, first you want to get her out of the phase that she's in with the eating and the not barking. You want to get her out of that phase. When she gets back to normal, that's when you want to start introducing the pop sound, so that by the time you reach New Year's, she's a little more accustomed to it. The other thing when it comes to New Year's, the pop that we get from fireworks, especially at a distance, are slightly different than they resonate with a dog differently. You know what I mean? If a dog can handle gunshots, there's some dogs that are good under gunfire, but there's something about those fireworks that throws them off. And I'm not even talking about the ones they see. I'm talking about just the ones they hear. So it's just a more, the sound is crazy because it's hard to detect where it's coming from. So you just want to start introducing her. So right now, first focus on getting her back to normal, where she's eating normal and where she's operating through your house normal, barking, doing the things that you're used to seeing her do. Start immediately. Once you've gotten her back to that phase, give her like a month. And include training in it, behavior or more obedience training. Include that in it. So that gives you excuses to praise her, which builds her confidence. When she does bark like she normally barks, good girl, get him. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is that keeps her doing it. If she barks at you, I have some of my dogs are vocal, where when they're ready to eat, they're looking at me barking like, "Come on, it's time." You know what I mean? Floyd is that way. He's just an old grunt. You know, so let's say that's him. All of a sudden, he stopped doing that. As soon as he starts doing that again, talk back to him. Like, what are you talking about? Just kind of clown him. You know what I mean? Clown her so that she understands you're not angry. I'm responding to your bark, and it encourages her to keep on barking. Get her back into whatever she was that she was doing beforehand. And then once she's there consistently for about a month, that's when you want to start introducing the pop sound. Start light with a clap. Just start making the clap louder. Start introducing pop guns. And you want to do this once a day so that she gets introduced to it. When you get to the point that you can do one clap, one sound, one pop, one thing with the belt, and she's not paying attention to it, the best thing about the pop gun or the belt is you can now do it twice back to back real quick, kind of sounding more like fireworks, and you can work her into that. This does not mean when it comes time for fireworks, she's not going to have an issue, but it won't be as impactful on her. The other thing is, when those fireworks come and you hear that first one, give her a treat. Be ready that night with treats. Just have treats in hand. You know what I mean? And focus that night on her. If the other dogs didn't have issues, focus on her. Kick it with her. Give her a treat every time she hears a firework. Boom, 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 boom. She starts to cower here. You want a treat? But you want to give it to her as soon as you hear it pop. You want to try to beat her to cowering and getting nervous. You know, you're not going to be able to do it every time. But if you stick with it that way, you'll start to get her out of it. And she'll start to relate the fireworks with good things. And she'll realize, I did not hurt afterwards. There was no pressure. And that should help her. Glad you asked that question. Work on it. When you get to, I'll say this. If you get to 3 months and you've done what I've said and she's still having the same issues, hit me up and we'll start working on it one-on-one. Let's see. Hotep said, damn, sorry to hear that. Spirit said we do well, clunk a bit here and there. Anything new I introduce now. Day One Bulls. I like that name. What's the difference in a chicken versus beef far as nutrient? Beef tends to have more fat. Dogs digest fat way better than humans do, and it has more of a need for them than it does us as humans. Chicken tends to be more lean, so I would say that's the main thing. Beef has more calories, more fat, more oils. Let's see. G Hitman said I feed my boy twice a day because he just turned 1, and fast him half a day whenever I see stomach issues, and it clears up right away. There you go. Road Trip said Arkansas, here we come. Yep, I'm headed there. My son just found where he's gonna be living. So he my oldest son, he's 27. So he's gonna be, what is Luna talking about? Okay, so he's gonna be moving in with one of his homies, and my youngest son, we're from California, born and raised. I am a firm believer that if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. My youngest son is 19. I want him to stay here. I gave him the option. Do you want to move with me and mom to Arkansas, or do you want, and you got to understand, we're not just moving to Arkansas. We're moving like in the middle. We're in the woods. You know what I'm saying? It's a city, but it's in the woods. Like we don't have neighbors for almost probably about a mile. You know what I'm saying? So about half a mile. I say about half a mile. So I want him to come up in the city and the hustle and bustle of the city. So he decided he's going to move with my mom and dad up to the Bay Area, up to Oakland area. And so now we're just waiting on my daughter to figure out, that's my little princess. So if she don't figure it out quick, I might make her come with us. But she's like, nope, I don't want to leave California. So she's gonna figure out. She is 23, 22 or 23, 23. So she's gonna figure out. She says she wants her own apartment. I'm a little nervous with that. But we'll see. But yeah, she wants to get her own apartment, so she's saving her money to do that. She's already graduated from college. So she's going to take a break from college, focus on from going to law school, focus on working, saving her money, handling her own rent. And then once she gets stable, she'll go back to, she'll, head on to law school. But it's going to be just me and wifey. Now where we're moving, we have a lot of family in that area. But other than that, it's just going to be me and wifey. My wife will be coming back once a month because not only to see the kids, but she has a doctor's appointment. She has a disease, Durkheim's disease, which is affects not the kind of the immune system and other things, but she gets like pain flare-ups. So she'll be coming back once a month to deal with the specialist that she sees for that. So she'll be good, but it's going to be interesting for the two of us. James Galloway says I use diatomaceous earth for fleas and ticks. That is good. And they also people used to use diatomaceous when, and I'm pronouncing it crazy now. I haven't said it in so long. But they figured there was an issue with it because how it works is bugs get it on them and it kind of breaks apart their exoskeleton, almost like it starts cutting and slicing at their exoskeleton. People would then feed it to their dogs to get rid of parasites. Now they've come out with a version that is healthy for dogs to digest. But yeah, diatomaceous earth is also a good product for fleas and ticks. Big Gemini, what's up? Andre is in the house. Thanks for tuning in, brother. That is Andre from BGK Kennels. If you breed XL American Bullies, there's a good chance you have his dogs in your blood. He's somebody I not only turn to for marketing advice, which he clowns me because I am terrible at marketing. I just forget about it. But he's also somebody I turn to when it comes to breeding, things like that. But that's a good man. I want to say there's one or two. Actually, there's one interview that I did with Andre of BGK. and that's on here. There's also check out his channel on YouTube, BGK. He does a story time. He also where he talks about different things that he's been through with breeding. And then he's also on the YouTube page. If you go back all close to the beginnings of the Thrower Bullies YouTube, there is a marketing and promotion series that I did with Andre and Robert McCormick that was on here earlier. Both those two know a lot about marketing and how this whole internet thing works. So definitely check him out. Make sure you guys follow his page. Black Bottom Bully said dry ice is what I hear is best for shipping sperm. Some use liquid nitrogen, but that is expensive as fuck. I've heard that's expensive. Yeah, there's a process to it. And as far as dry ice, that's what I hear most people using. Albert Porras said, is safe to work out all XL bullies? What are some early traits to look for to determine the type of conditioning? These dogs are thick bone, thick in structure, so you don't want to begin doing true workouts beyond walking and, you know, light games of fetch, light flirt pull, some spring pull with definitely make sure the hind legs are on the ground. They shouldn't be hanging. Yes, I have one video of Cardi Bull hanging. That was a one-time thing. We don't do it on a regular basis or at all anymore. But as far as working out the dogs, you know, treadmills, slap mills, hill runs, you know, throwing a ball up a dirt hill, you know, fetch, flirt pole. These are all great things for all dogs and for bullies. You just want to wait till they're about a year and a half old before you start pushing them, because you got to remember those growth plates are not connected as they should be until they hit about 12 to 18 months. So you want to hold off on all that until pushing them until then. Somebody from Facebook. Oh, man, you're welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Day One Bulls Kennel said, what is proper dog food calories outtake for a 6-month-old puppy a day? I don't worry about calories. One thing that I know drives a lot of people in the bully community crazy with me is I don't get into the science of things. I just deal with the dog that's in front of me. So I don't get into calories because it varies based off the activity of your dog. What you want to focus on is the look of the dog. At 6 months, he should be lean. So you should be able to touch his rib cage and feel ribs. If with just a little bit of pressure, you know what I mean? If you have to apply a lot of pressure to fill a rib, if you have to kind of press to fill a rib, then you know that he's starting to get too much, especially food, especially at 6 months old. You want to keep him lean, especially these XLs. If you can see the rib at 6 months old, because you haven't been working it. Some dogs we allow the 2 last ribs to show if they're well conditioned. If you can see the ribs, you know he needs more intake. So at that point, you want to be giving the dog more food. If you can't see the rib, but you can feel it, then you're right where you need to be. And that's how I would do it. I wouldn't worry about calories because it varies from dog to dog, varies from breed to breed and dog to dog. Dom said, what are signs or temperature to look out for to see if she's going into labor? You will notice that the panting begins. One, start paying attention to her as you get to those days. So we know dog that everybody says 63 days. That's correct. Then when you notice that she is starting to pant, you know you're getting to that time. When that dog hits right around 101, 102 degrees, she's ready. You know, she's ready. It may drop to, my bad. Right around the dog's temperature should be right around 101 to 102 degrees. when she gets ready to breed, you're gonna see the temperature drop. So it's gonna be about 90, I want to say about 99, 98. When you start seeing those 2 degrees, you know she's ready to have that litter within the next 24 hours. Not 24 hours from now, but within the next that period. So dog's supposed to have its litter in 63 days. Right around 55 days, 50 days, start taking her temperature. At 55 days, start taking her temperature on a daily basis. And you want to see it right at a 101, 102. If it drops to 100, don't panic. But if it starts to hit that 98, 99, that's when you want to prepare. She's about to drop that litter in 24 hours and you want to be ready for it. Within 24 hours, not in 24 hours, but within 24 hours, she's going to drop that litter. So that's what you want to be ready for. Let's see here. What else do we got? When the temperature drops below 100 tonight, there you go. Hotep gave the answer. Normal temp is 101, 102. There you go. Devaster owner, breeding with the same female on a monthly basis or with several females on a month-to-month basis. Breeding with the same female on a month. I have no idea what you're talking about. Females shouldn't be able to breed on a monthly basis. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Explain that. G Hitman, Floyd, my oldie is like that. Floyd's a nut. And now he's just a spoiled old brat. Hotep said my female is more aggressive than her brother, more prone to fence aggression. That's normal. Females, a lot of time, can be more territorial than males. Her brother is more laid back, used to be the opposite when they were pups. She was shy and timid towards people. Hotep said nesting is another sign. Yes, nesting is another sign. Digging, they'll have a bed. Cardi Bull has a bed. When it comes around time for her to deliver those pups, and this will start a few days beforehand. So you can also look out for that. But she'll start digging at it. So that's something else you'll notice, and that's what they call nests. I'm glad you brought that up because that gives you an idea of things ahead of time, days ahead of time. Some people will use nesting to start testing the temperature. Hosep said, yes, it can definitely be a reason she isn't taking. Masculine females don't produce as much estrogen as normal females. There you go. They usually are harder to breed and have weird cycles. They definitely have weird cycles. Is this on YouTube live as well? Yes, it is. Always. Hotep says she has silent heats, no blood or swelling, only slight flagging. Hotep said, how old is she? Or Spirit Rider talking to Hotep. Hotep says she's 5.5. Spirit says she's at a loss. Python Don said, how about slight cowhawk in rear for catch dogs? Is this correctable? You have to breed it out when a dog is cowhawk. As far as a catch dog, yeah, I know a few catch dogs that are cowhawk. It should not be extreme though. Slight cowhawk, yeah. Slightly cowhawk dogs can still be extremely functional, and I know quite a few. I actually know a border collie that she herds bulls and cows with her father, and I want to say the other dog is either her mother or her aunt, but she's slightly cowhawk for some reason. But yeah, a slightly cowhawk dog can still perform. And hold on, let me make sure I answered it. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, again, you said slight though. So slight, yeah. If the female dog gives the litter the majority of the DNA, then why does it seem that only male dogs are given prestige in the show ring and in the media? Because male dogs are just more impressive. In the animal species, it's the male that stands out the most. The lion has the mane, the peacock has the bright colors. When you see male birds, they tend to have more colors. The male tends to be more impressive. But it's a human thing. You know, if people were smart, they'd be more focused on females than they are males. And that's why breeders who are knowledgeable, they will focus on um, their females. You know, the average breeder who knows what they're doing is going to tell you start your yard off with a female. Let's see. Hotep said, "Yeah, me too. We bred her to 3 males, 2 different ways, and now my vet has recommended a reproductive specialist, $1,000 to find out what's wrong." Wow, 3 males, 2 different ways, and $1,000 to find out what's wrong. Um, yeah, I guess, you know, I mean, it makes sense because if you've done it 3 different males, and each time she hasn't taken, and you try 2 different ways, yeah, I would definitely have her looked at. Uh, let's see, because of their appearance, males are more impressive looking. Yep. James Galloway said color doesn't better the breed either. Does not better anything. You know, especially in this breed. You know, some breeds, there's a specific reason for their color. You know, Beagles, Jack Russells tend to have a white tip on the tail. That white tip makes it easier for other dogs and their owners to see them when they're in the brush and that tail is wagging with excitement. Um, you know, Rottweilers were black because a lot of times when they were with the meat man or the cattle man taking, you know, cows to the butcher, they moved in the dark. And so if I've got a Rottweiler and I've just turned in all these cows and butchered them, and now I'm headed home with my money and the cows that nobody wanted or I didn't use, then my Rottweiler is walking and I'm going to be headed back at night and my Rottweiler is walking along with us, makes it harder to see. And this helps not only protect me, but it also helps protect those people who don't have a Rottweiler, because those bandits don't know if they got one or not, because there's these black dogs that you don't see until the last second. Um, so some dogs have color and it does have a point to it. Some dogs have color and it's strictly for looks. And that is why color is the last thing you should be breeding for. Always breed first for temperament. Second, ability and functionality. Third, conformation, form, flaws. And then last will be color or size or whatever it is people are looking for. Because those are typically things color you can get in 1 breeding. Size and all that stuff you can get in 1 to 2 breedings. So always do your breedings that way. Excuse me. Hotel. Exactly. Spirit Rider said 3 months. A pack with mourn a loss. I think you were talking about the PTSD. I've only noticed a change in a few of my dogs after the loss of another dog. At the same time, I'm very active and hands-on with my dogs. So are my wife and my kids. So I think we have an environment here that assists them in getting over the loss of dogs, of other members of the pack. But I do remember having one dog, which was my sister's beagle, and he hit a depression stage when him and my Rottweiler got old together, and he did hit a depression stage. But I think when my Rottweiler died, and I think a lot of that was due to the fact I was living in an apartment at the time with my wife and kids. And so I would always come back home. I would bring them to our apartment sometime, but they couldn't stay there. But they lived with my aunt, with my mom, my dad, and my sister. So I was constantly seeing them. My kids were constantly seeing them. But there was still that there was not as much interaction with me and them as it was before I had, a wife and kids. So definitely, I would say that was the first time I noticed, a dog actually be affected by it. And it's funny you say 3 months because it was about 3 months that I noticed he was affected and then back to normal. But I do think he would have got through it a lot faster if I was still living at home at the time. Um, it takes adjusting and changing routine. There you go. Brian said, I'm doing all that, what you said about the stud to female formula. I did my in-house breeding. He lacks where she adds. There you go. Take the best and continue my program. I've also turned away many females to stud. There you go. Because you want to put your stamp on it. The last thing you want to do is, especially because we're in a social media era, and somebody could think you're cool, like your dog, and then they breed their female to your stud. And somehow in this interaction, they come across a new breeder that becomes their new hero, and that breeder happens to not like you. And next thing you know, people are weird nowadays, especially with social media. There's very little common sense social media, and everything is just like emotional outbursts and emotional reactions. So the last thing you want is to take your male and it has a flaw and you breed it to a female that's got that same flaw. And now all of a sudden, this dude's mad at you for some crazy reason or wants to distance himself from you because of some new guy that he likes. And now he's bashing you. Look what happened when I bred to his dog. I got high rears. And you know what I mean? So do what's right from jump. That way, my bad. Kicked me out right at another hour and 20 minutes. But do what's right from jump. That way your haters can't hate. Whatever they do hate on, you're in the process of fixing anyway. And you don't have to worry about the social media drama. Spirit said first month after Bo left, the baby's just laid around like the world ended. Exactly. Eric said, I wouldn't be so quick to say PTSD. Was she present when other dogs got. See, I didn't understand. Okay. Shot part threw me off. I think I get what he's asking now. I was thinking more fireworks because you said New Year's Eve. So somebody actually shot the dog. I would still do the same process, the dogs. I would still do the same process that I was speaking of. Because that means I totally misread that. That's my bad. I was thinking fireworks. Still do the exact same process that I was speaking of, and you should be straight. But Eric said, was she present when other dogs got shot? I've also seen a dog react to a dog dying or getting rehomed, and remaining dog wouldn't act depressed. Try new interactions. There you go. Kings of Bully Excellence. I have a Boston Terrier in the house and my American Bully pup, 6 months old. I feel the pup is leaning hyperactive traits or is learning hyperactive traits from him. Any suggestions? Start training. Uh, Start applying boundaries to the Boston Terrier along with your pup. Your Boston Terrier, if it's the one that is already hyper, I've had 2 Boston Terriers and both of them were hyper, especially one. Um, Go ahead, start working on obedience and behavior training with that dog, giving it boundaries. Your whole house needs to be in tune with it. Your wife, your kids, everybody's got to be involved in it and understand when you teach it something, show them how to make it do the same thing. Watch them make it do the same thing. Dog jumps on the couch, no longer allow it on the couch. First, if you have a wife that loves the dog being on the couch with her or a husband that loves the dog being on the couch with them, stop it. No more of it until the dog learns not to do it. Once the dog learns not to do it, then start getting the dog to learn he can do it when it's invited. Start with your Boston Terrier first and then work on the pup. But focus on the Boston Terrier first because he's probably leading the bad habits. But start doing behavioral and obedience training so that the pup, if it is a hyper pup naturally, then you can start correcting it now. And then also for hyperactivity, start interacting with it more, exercising it more, just doing more with it. Don't overdo it though, because he's only 6 months old. King of Bull Excellence said, or I should say behavior instead of traits. Ace 900 said, thanks, I really needed that. Cool, glad you got what you needed. With PTSD, you'd see things like panting, panicking, restlessness, being fearful, or being over clingy along with other symptoms. Agreed, 100%. Hotep said, what percentage of fat and protein should one look for? I like my foods. Fat is kind of up to you. If you focus on protein, rarely are you, if you focus on I focus on lower proteins, anywhere from 18 to 23%. The higher proteins are for working dogs. So for instance, I used to feed, my dogs eat regular Purina, they eat Purina 1, or they eat pedigree kibble. Most of the time, they're eating pedigree kibble, and then I just add to it on a daily basis. Um, the fat, I forget what fat percentage I stick with. I'm more focused on protein. I don't want high protein unless the dog's getting ready to do some type of performance. So when I say that, what I mean is, so my dogs would eat pedigree every day. Then all of a sudden, we're going hunting in 2 months. So what's it? Just January now. So let's say we're going hunting on March 1st. Then they would still eat the same food. I would start their exercising more, and then right around to condition them for when we get ready to go hunting. And then right about a week or two before the trip, I would start, about 2 weeks before the trip, I would start gradually switching them over to a higher protein dog food that's above 23%. After hunting, they would still eat that same food while we're hunting. They would fast the night before we went hunting. They would hunt that night. They would eat that same high protein food. After we were done hunting, I would gradually switch them off of that food and back to their regular kibble. You do not need high protein dog food unless the dog is performing. Anything over 23% is when it's starting to get high. And as far as fat, I never worry about fat, so I don't have the percentage memorized. But if you look at just your regular Purina, pedigree, whatever that fat percentage is, that's what I'm cool with. Because I add raw ground beef every other day to their food. Spirit said, Eric agreed, it's like they never turn off. Kush said BGK, exactly. Andre was in the house. Throw a tag number, exactly what BGK word is with. So that happened. I get exactly what you're saying. I say exactly a lot, and Andre says so. That exactly. That's funny. Inspirational Alpha said, "Where can I go to learn about temperament and drive?" Two things I think you should do. One, Google and the internet. I personally believe that books are better. If you can find books that focus on dog development and temperament, especially if they focus on drive, books that, and they're going to be old probably, but look up books that talk about hunting, dog fighting, these type of things. Food drive, look up all these different type of books, start reading those books so that you get an understanding of those breeds. The next thing I would say is, we have Google, start looking up various drives. What type of drives do dogs have? Try, looking up something like that. You definitely want to focus on prey drive, dominance drive, rank drive. Inquisitive drive, as I spoke of earlier, that's something I came up with. You're not going to find that in a book. But it has to do with the drive to satisfy curiosity. For whatever reasons, I've never heard anybody speak on it. I came up with that on my own. Um, rank drive, dominance drive, prey drive, fight drive, defense drive. Those are the things that you want to start looking at and looking into, really studying those things. You also want to look at your dog. I advise everybody once a week, at least once a month, sit in your yard, watch your dog. Don't say nothing for 2 hours. Do not say anything. Don't pet the dog. Don't interact with the dog. Just sit there for 2 hours and watch your dog. Get yourself a notepad and a pen and take notes on what it is you see that dog do when a bird lands in the yard, when it hears another dog. If you are a secluded area, find a dog park near you. Go to that dog park with a notepad. Leave your dog at home so you don't have any distractions. And with a notepad, watch the German Shepherd right now and watch that dog for about 30 minutes. So sit that dog park for 2 hours. Pick 4 dogs you're going to watch. Base it on dogs that seem to get along easily with other dogs that seem to be more submissive, and dogs that seem to be more dominant. Pick at least those 3 categories plus one. A hyper dog, easygoing dog, a dominant dog, a submissive dog. Spend 30 minutes on each of those dogs, just looking at that one dog. Take notes on what you see. And when you get home, read those notes. Back in a couple weeks and study what you saw. Study it, understand it, apply it to your dog, what you saw. And I'm talking about the stance of the dog, the way the feet were positioned, the way the tail was positioned, the look in the eyes, the ear twitched, whether hair went up. When one dog approached, did they sniff nose to nose or did they come at an angle? Start taking notes. The more you start doing that, the more detailed your notes will become, and the more you will understand dogs. All a dog is a one big bundle of temperament, and all temperament is a combination of all the drives that make up the dog, and all those drives that make up the dog have thresholds. Some are high, some are low. I break thresholds into 5 categories: low, low to medium, medium to high, and high. Those are your 5 thresholds. And each drive has a different threshold. Think about that, start studying it, start looking at it, and start watching dogs. And the dog park is one of the best places you can go and just take notes on what you see, on body parts, how they move, how they position, the dog that lowers its head, the dog that raises its head, when did it do it, why did it do it. Notate it. Drive home, and as soon as you get home, while everything that you saw at the dog park is still in your memory, read back through your notes. Start and add to it. You can think of more to add to it. You'll start to notice you become more and more detailed in your note taking. You'll also start to notice your brain starts to trigger the dogs and be more aware and more alert of what it is that they're doing, why they're doing it, and how they go about doing it. And that is where you'll start to really understand temperament and drive. So always remember, a lot of times we say my dog is high drive, but drive should always be looked at plurally. Temperament is made up of drives. Drives are made up of thresholds. And like I explained about a week ago or a couple weeks ago, when you're looking at drive, it's almost like you're going to the studio and you have that soundboard. That's temperament. And then you got each tracks. You got your drum track, your guitar track, your vocal tracks. You got each of these tracks. Each of those tracks are your drives. And each of those knobs slide up and down. And those are your thresholds. That's the best way to look at a dog and to understand how to break it down from there. But other than that would be my suggestion for learning it. Also, though There's schools you can go to for dog training. I've gotten my dog training certificate, but because I noticed training started changing, I went ahead and went to another school. Now you're talking 2 to 3 to 4 to 6,000 bucks, but some of them have payment plans. If you can work that out, even though you may not be into dog training, it's still going to give you a better understanding of dogs. I do think one of the biggest problems in dog breeding now is that people who have always owned dogs as pets are heavily involved in breeding, um, and have a lack of understanding. And in the bully community, you have people that have barely owned 1 or 2 dogs in their life, and then all of a sudden they get a bully and they're into breeding, or they've only had one type of breed and they're into breeding. We're getting away from where a guy works his dogs but still sells to pet homes. And those people who have that dog as a pet learn how to deal with that dog as a working breed. Now any and everybody is breeding. So I would say, invest in yourself so that you know what to look for, especially if you're a breeder and you can put the best into your dogs. And if that means taking a training class, even though you don't want to, and you can do a lot of them online, even though you may not be into training, at least you're learning dogs. You know what I mean? Now, unfortunately, they're heavy handed on this positive training stuff that they do now, as if somehow what we were doing before was negative and anti hierarchy and dominant stuff. But there's a lot of information out there. I would say just seek it and invest in yourself, through your time and with your money. And, start reading, start taking advantage of the sources that are out there. But there's nothing that's going to beat just by sitting and watching a few dogs for 2 hours without speaking or saying anything. Another one of these weirdos. Let's see. Looks like we're almost caught up. Beth B said, if you sold a puppy as show quality with a show quality price tag and it turns out it has major flaws, what would you do for your client? One, I would not make that mistake because the breeding would be based, and me calling it show quality would be based off the parents being show quality. But let's say somehow that happened and I told that person that it's a show quality dog and they're able to say, hey, Daryl, look, this ain't show quality. I will replace that dog. Um, because that's what I told them they were going to get. And if they don't get it, then I would replace it. It's no different if I sell a dog for protection or catch work. If it doesn't show the natural desire to participate and do that, I'll replace it. A buddy of mine got into it years ago. He got a dog from me, bred for protection, bred to a female. I asked him a bunch of questions about the female he was breeding to. He kind of brushed me off. Well, he bred to that female. They had a litter, or he bought that female, had a litter, sold it to another friend of ours, a pup to another friend of ours, and the dog would cower down when you would stomp at it. And so our other homie wanted his money. He was wanting his money back, and they got in an argument over it. But I had to tell him, like, bruh, you got to give him his money back. You didn't sell him what you told him you were selling him. Even though the dog became 2 years old, it was obvious this was not the dog was skittish for whatever reasons, and it had to have came from the female because I know the male he used, so it had to have came from the female that he bought, and you know, I told him you got to replace it. They got into it because he refused to replace it, but I told him he was wrong. I feel if in 2 years the dog is fully developed, or a year, and you start to see signs that the dog is not show quality and you sold it as show quality, you need to replace that dog. Here's the trick in the bully game. Somebody's going to tell you, yeah, it's got a high rear, but it's still show quality. Even though we have champions that have high rears in the bully game, that's part of the bully game. That is not part of breeding, and that is not part of dogs. So if you sell somebody a dog for the show ring but the latest grand champion has a high rear, and so does your dog, that's not show quality. It just isn't. Dogs don't walk into rings with high rears, weak pasterns, lack of angulation. That's supposed to be fixed before you sell it to somebody as a show quality dog. So if you sell it to them and they get in the ring and or they start recognizing that my dog has a high rear, the breeder's excuse can't be, well, so does the latest champion. Nah, it ain't supposed to have species flaws. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to have some breed flaws, but zero species flaws. So, you're going to have your issues with that because there are so many dogs that are gotten accolades from champion to grand champion and never should have achieved it as a dog, let alone a breed. But yeah, I would replace it. If I tell you what I'm giving you, I'm going to replace it. Right now, I can guarantee when you get a dog from us, it is going to be purpose driven. Whatever it is you want to do, that dog is going to want to do. By the time that dog hits a year, I can guarantee that it's going to be addicted to whatever it is that you want to do, that you started doing with it by the time it hits 6 to 8 months. And if it doesn't show that type of energy, yeah, we'll replace it. Our dogs are 140. Our last litter, they're almost a year and a half, and they're hitting 145, 150. If they don't want to go hiking and can't do it, then I'll replace that pup. We'll replace that pup. That's just how we are, because that's what we told you we were giving to you. And the same thing should go for people who are breeding for show. It's been 8 to 24 hours. They will drop. Another one of the weirdos. How long after birth does a female go back in the heat? 6 months. Some will do 4 months, but it's going to be 4 to 6 months. After birth, 6 months. Some breeds, the whelping cycle throws them off. Some breeds, it doesn't. And I don't know which breed specifically. I know with your smaller breeds, the whelping phase of that first 4 month kind of throws them off. So after she gives birth, you're looking at about, I would say, 5 to 6 months. She should be going back into heat. Hotep, usually 6 months, but I've seen 4. There we go. I had to start reading the comments before I give my answers. What's up, Bucket? Another weirdo. If for normal cycle is 6 months. Let's see. What's up, Rossette? Rossette, what do you do for eye allergies? My all-white bullies have bad skin and eye allergies. I've never had an issue with it, but there are eye drops that you can get, and I want to say they're at your basic PetSmart type stores. You can get those for your dog's eyes. What I would say is kind of something we do when we go out hunting and the dogs are running, especially with the Jack Russells and Beagles. They go through a lot of brush and stuff. Get a warm, wet cloth, and just wipe the eye area away from the eye. I try to make sure you're wiping away from the eye. The dog will automatically close its eyes. You bring the cloth close, wipe away from the eye, clean that area. From there, you want to boost the dog's immune system. A shortcut is 2 things: Benadryl and also fasting the dog for 24 hours. From there, you don't want to keep the dog on Benadryl. You want to give it a diet that boosts its immune system. Sardines and water are great. Do not get sardines in hot sauce. Sardines are great. Yogurt helps it digest and intake everything because it builds probiotics. Sauerkraut is even better than yogurt, but you just have to start a little bit at a time. But sardines and water, yogurt or sauerkraut, blueberries, strawberries. You want to look for antioxidants, probiotics, all those type of things to boost the dog's immune system. And then once you have gotten the dog on that, you want to do that for about 10 days straight. From there, you want to start giving, now that you know your dog has allergy issues, which is an immune system issue. Now at that point, you want to start feeding those things every other day, and then back to its regular, whatever its regular food was. But add those to the dog's food for 10 to 14 days straight. And then after that, do it every other day, and you should be good. Let's see here. Or I'm not going to say it's going to perfect everything, but you should be better off after that. Beth, that was to Beth. Another one to Beth. How do you breed flaws out of your dogs? You breed 2 dogs that do not have those flaws, and then you continue breeding away from it. The bully community is overly focused on what they want rather than what they don't want. So if my dog has, I don't know what's a flaw, Easty Westy. If my dog has Easty Westy, if it's severe, then you don't breed it. If it's slight, then you breed that dog to a dog that's got perfectly straight feet. Then when you get pups off of that breeding, you keep the pup that has straight feet, and you continue breeding to dogs that do not have flaws. After about 5 generations, that flaw should be erased out of its genetic or almost non-existent in its genetic, even beyond the fact that it's not showing the traits. If you have a female with, so let's say you have a female with Easty Westy, you're going to breed her to a male that does not have it. And then you want a female off of that does not have Easty Westy. If you have a male that has Easty Westy, you want to breed him to a female that does not have Easty Westy. And you want to keep the male off of that breeding that does not have Easty Westy, and then breed him to another female that does not have Easty Westy. And that goes back to what we were talking about with genetic information being passed from the mother or the father. No, if she's on a 6-month cycle, she'll get pregnant for 2 months, have puppies on her for 2 months ish, and she'll go into heat 2 months after pups are 2 months old. Okay, so the cycle is 6 months. You breed her, she's pregnant for 2 months, she has her puppies, and then after she delivers those puppies, yeah, she should be going into heat anywhere from 4 to 6 months from there. Well, 5 to 6 months from there. But some dogs' heat cycles vary, but so I would just say 4 to 6 months. More than likely, though, it's going to be closer to 5 to 6 months. Okay, well, that makes breeding back to back more sensible. I get it. So when pups are getting off mom's milk, I can just soak regular adult pedigree and let them eat that. Yes, but I would still continue. I would add goat's milk to it. I would add Carol's syrup to it. I would also add colostrum to it. And while they're on that food, for that, when you first take them off, once they hit about 7 to 8 weeks, then you want to have them on strictly kibble. But yeah, for large dog breeds or breeds with thick bone and mass, you don't want to use puppy food. And I would suggest using Purina. You can use Puppy Chow. Purina has a good product. I would use Purina 1 for your puppies. And then once they get adults, once they go to their new homes, or if I have an 8-week-old puppy. So if I take a pup home at 6 weeks old, especially like if I was back when I was dealing with working breeds, I always wanted my pups by the time they were 6 weeks old, and between 5 to 6 weeks old, I would do exactly what I was just telling you. Once they hit 8 weeks old, I would start gradually switching them on the pedigree. Let's see. Reset. I've been giving Bailey regular cheap probiotic, and the rearing has stopped. What do you mean by rearing? Oh, and the tearing has stopped. There you go. There you go. So she's answering the question on the allergy issues, especially in the eyes. But B, thanks for being so honest. You're welcome. Dave Smith said, I add colostrum to my blue dog's food in tablet forms. Seem to help a lot with the immune system. Colostrum definitely helps with the immune system. Colostrum is basically where are we at? So it might be kicking me out in a second, but we're almost done. If we kicks me out, I'll jump back in to say bye. Colostrum is what the female produces that first 12 to 24 hours before her milk turns to milk. And it's to boost the pup's immune system. You can get colostrum in tablets, powder, I think pills, and you can also, or capsules, you can also get it in liquid form. So when you see allergy issues in your dog, and I might have forgot to say that earlier, if you give them colostrum, it will help boost their immune system to get through that phase. So if you got allergy issues happening, like the guy said about the eyes tearing and things like that, fast. Next meal should include colostrum plus the other things I stated, and you go from there. But also make sure you're keeping those eyes clean. The minute you notice any type of green or tearing, wipe it. Wipe it. Just continue keeping that clean as possible till the dog gets through that phase. The colostrum, don't overdo it. You want to do it 10 to 14 days. And then after that, switch that diet to every other day. But don't give any more colostrum. You want to use it for emergencies. Not that it's bad for the dog, but you don't want the dog's immune system adjusting to it. So after 10 to 14 days, the dog's doing fine, put the colostrum up and wait for the dog to possibly need it again. I use Diamond Large Breed Puppy. That dude said, let's see, David Smith, I heard you on a live say if you wanted to make a clone, it's better to take a daughter to dogs with like features as she carries more of the dad's DNA. Can you elaborate a bit more, please? Yes. So if I'm trying to clone a male dog, the best thing you can do is breed him to a female that has similar traits to him. Take a female from that resembles him the most because she is going to carry more of his traits than the male is. You take that female and then you breed her back to him, and you should get his replica in males, because now his genetics have made their way through the female back into the litter. So again, take that female, you produce her, you breed her back to her dad, and then you should get clone males in that offspring. The other thing you can do is take that female, breed her to, especially to guarantee that you pass it, take that male that you want to clone, breed him to a female with like traits. He produces male and female puppies. You take the female that most resembles him because she took the most genetic, the females take the most genetic information. She most resembles him, so she took the most genetic information out of the females. You take her, breed her back to his father. Again, especially if he resembles his father. And again, you should be able to produce that should help you produce that male. Dom said, thank you, bro. Trying out pedigree at the moment on all my dogs. There you go. You guys have heard me speak on it. I add to my dog's food. We have our veggie day, then we have our fruit and veggie day, then we have our protein day, and they swap back and forth. The dog food I use doesn't change, which is pedigree. When I notice if a female is pregnant, then I switch them to off of pedigree. I gradually switch them over a week off of pedigree on the Purina 1, and then everything else, though I still do the fruit and veggie day along with the protein day. Protein day is focused on raw ground beef and sardines. If there's an allergy issue, then I add the sardines in on veggie day. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, for Cardi Bull, when she hit, I think it was probably about 8 months old, I didn't add anything because I started realizing how many allergy issues this breed was having. So I stopped adding anything, and I just had her on strictly pedigree. All she got for 6 months was pedigree and water. She had no allergy issues, so we knew right off the bat she's good. We don't have to feed grain-free. We don't have to feed raw. We don't have to do all that. And she's just as big and just as driven as any bully out there, more so as a matter of fact. Under which window level should I breed my female if it's going to be surgical? Window level. I'm thinking you're talking about progesterone. Progesterone varies from vet to vet, also what machine they're using. So the best thing you can do is ask your vet or whoever it is you're going to. I feel that because right around progesterone level of 9, I hope that's what you're talking about, but right around the progesterone level of 9, it starts to increase fast over 24 hours. I think if when a dog hits 9, and it depends on what you have access to. If you have the dog there on premises and you can do natural breedings or AIs on your own, then as soon as the dog hits about 9 months, a level 9, then go ahead, start doing your breedings. Let's say you're doing AIs with or you're going to someone else, you're going to do a breeding about every other day. Go ahead, if you're doing AIs, do it at 9. Once it hits 9, start doing them every other day. When you start to get to 20 and up, then you're kind of beyond AIs, and now you are into surgicals. So that's how I look at it. So if you're doing AIs, if you're doing a natural breeding, do that shit every day as soon as it hits a 9. If you don't have the money, the person's charging you every time you do the breeding, I would start off right around a 15 and then start doing the breeding. As soon as the dog hits 14, 13 to 15, bam, start breeding every other day. And that's how you want to do. That's about how you want to do it. And do you have any books and any drug subject you would recommend? I think drug meant dog. Books. Book I've ever owned. One, I haven't read a dog book in probably over 20, 30 years. The books that I always did read were when I was young. They first came from my uncle. I was about 8 years old, and I started reading Richard Stratton's book on pit bulls. Then I started reading another book. It was on Staffordshire Bull Terriers. Read another book he had on bull terriers. Yeah, that shit would have been when I was about 8, 9 years old. Then after that, I started going to bookstores when I was in college instead of going to class because I started training dogs before I was certified. So I would go to bookstores instead of going to class. I would go to the local bookstore or the library at the college, and I would read books there. I don't have a specific book that I can recommend. No, hold on. Here we go. This is a great book. The Other End of the Leash. This will give you a great understand by Patricia McConnell. There's that other book with the monks that I forget what their name is. They have German Shepherds. The cover of them, they're like monks with German Shepherds. They have some good books. I've never read them, but from what I understand, a lot of people I respect their books. But this is one of my favorite books. My son is actually reading it right now. But this gives you a lot of good information on dogs, temperament, and our existing around. It's called Other End of the Leash, Why We Do What We Do Around Dogs. So definitely check that out. Trying to think of some more. You know what? I'm going to spend some time suggesting different books. That's actually a good idea. It's just hard for me to think of them on the fly right now, and that just happened to be sitting here. Ross said, so do I take him off the Victor kibble while he's on the sardines and probiotics, or do I blend it? Blend it with your food. Blend it. If you've got an adult dog over 60 pounds, you want to give him about, if you're going to be doing it daily, do it because of an allergy issue, give them about 2 to 3 a day. If you're doing it every other day, just to make it a part of their diet for preventative care, then give them 3 sardines every other day if the dog is over 60 pounds. Beth said, do you have any books you'd recommend on dogs? It doesn't matter what subject. Okay, so I hit you with that one. Eric said, read How to Be Your Dog's Best Friend. Have I heard of that? That does sound familiar. Honor Thy Dog. Cool. So people are naming them. The World of American Pit Bull Terrier by Stratton. That's the one I named. I actually have that one. I've got that one. It's in the garage with some of my conspiracy books, like Behold the Pale Horse and all that. It's by the monks of New State. Yeah, I couldn't think of it, but a lot of people respect the books that they put out. So definitely check them out. And with that said, we are at the end of the comment section. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back next week, same time, same place. See y'all in a week.